Alright, so, hello everybody, welcome to Main Chat Nerd Night. Today is the second session of our Monday group. Last week we had quite an interesting turn of events. Why did I drop my notebook? I left my notebook somewhere. There you are. We had quite an interesting turn of events as the party decided that they would rather be out of their current state of events, which at that time was captivity. So just a really brief recap, the party woke up in what is essentially a warehouse, and a couple of people came in. One of those individuals managed to change their appearance and also essentially magically drag them along through the town, down the center of town to a beach, and they ended up going onto a boat. Excuse me. They went onto the boat, and then the spell that was binding them dissipated. They were greeted on the boat by a man from below deck that, welcomed them and just asked them to get comfortable. At which point, Deimos, our fighter, I believe, decided.
Human fighter.
Yep, Deimos decided that he wanted to try and jump ship. At which point he was came into conflict with this individual that they had just met. Which
he wasn't trying to jump ship. He was trying to throw the other guy.
He was trying to push him off the boat.
Well, I was trying to do the first part, then I ended up trying to do the second part.
Did a little from column A, a little from column B. At that point, the combat began because they did not manage to push him off the boat or jump ship. At which point, the entity managed to actually subdue the party. The party did get knocked out, and they woke up below decks. After waking up, both Tarin and Kledash actually saw an interesting face, a featureless, gray, gaunt face in their dreams. And as Kledash came to wakefulness, he woke up and realized that he wasn't dreaming, and he saw this face. And he and the individual that they met on the boat spoke a bit, at which point the individual shapeshifted to appear to be Kledash's brother. Very soon after that, the dock stopped moving, and there were voices from above deck. There was the ringing of a bell and voices from above deck, at which point the entity used a spell to teleport away from the party. So we begin with the party below decks, not shackled, not manacled. There's nothing restraining them in any way. They are in what could be cages, but the doors were taken off, so they're not really cages. And there are voices and footfalls coming from above deck. Is there anything you guys would like to do in this moment? You hear some of the footfalls making their way towards the rear of the boat where the hatch was that brought you to the below deck area.
My character would get up and walk towards the direction he's hearing the footfalls go towards.
Okay. And I'm sorry, just remind me... Oh, goodness, what just happened to my computer? Just remind me what your voices are. I haven't quite captured all your voices yet. I haven't figured out all your voices just yet, so...
I am Murican Brony, and I am playing Tarin.
Your character, yes. So, Tarin. All right. Tarin?
Yep.
With the... Okay. All right, so Tarin, you're going to get up from your bed and make your way towards the set of stairs that leads up to the bulkhead?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for the most part, I'm going to just not be drawing a lot of this, so... you make your way towards the bulkhead, at which point the door that had been broken, I recall one of you fell through.
That was me.
Yep, you can see figures through that hole, and the other bulkhead swings open, and you see a human male, leather armor, metal skull cap, and holding a club in one hand, like a small club. He says, he sees you making your way towards the stairs. Up and at him, eh? Alright, come on, all of you. And he motions all of you to come up.
What do you want, you daft gate?
Well, we're bringing you to prison. And he motions
That's
off
good.
the side of the boat where you can't see. Welcome to Hestmark Prison. I'm gonna need all of you to come up. And now you see another man over his shoulder, and you hear the footfalls of what you would guess to be about 3 others.
Oh, I got bashed. Well, we got bashed in once by one. I'd say it's probably a bad idea to take on 3.
Gah. You have a point. Fine.
All right.
Let's go. Try and see what's going on there. This is very silly.
Fracking
My
stupid is what it is.
My character will now go up to follow the guards.
Okay. So Tarin starts making his way up, and as you come up to the top of the stairs, you actually see 10 individuals, all dressed identically, wielding the same club. It's a small, functional wooden club, and they're actually lined up in a line from the bulkhead to the gangplank, which has now been lowered onto what you see to be a dock.
Yeah, I would.
That seems about the right number of guards.
Hmm.
This certainly seems like about the proper number.
And each of them is has their hand on the weapon. They're not moving to threaten you, but they are keeping an eye on it. They are keeping an eye on you. So do each of you make your way up?
Kledash follows and just kind of looks at each of the guards and says, "Man, I don't like the look of this."
Okay.
Nor do I, but...
So let's see. It's
I will be last, or Deimos will be last in the formation.
Deimos will be last in the formation.
Yes.
I'm just gonna sort of vaguely use this for marching order. It's not actually where you're positioned, but just for my reference. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get ambushed.
So each of you makes your way up to the deck of the boat, and at this point, once again, you are being flanked by 2 rows of guards, 5 on each side, and as you pass by, the rearmost guard falls into step behind you, and so on as you pass each of the guards, until there's 1 guard in front of you, and 9 guards behind you. You make your way down, Let me get the correct music for this here. Here we go. You make your way down the gangplank, down a very short dock. It's only about 15-20 feet long, and as you approach, there is a humanoid female with full plate armor and a helmet over her head, and she says, "Welcome to Hestmark. Each of you has done something. I try to make my guests feel accommodated. If you feel that something is not to your liking, then perhaps we can discuss how we can fix that. But for now, I will ask you to go to your quarters and settle down. You do note at this time of day, it's about midday. Sun's pretty much directly overhead. And she says, excuse me, she says, my name is Athe, and I'll be taking care of you during your stay here, whether that be a week, a month, or the rest of your life. And she steps aside and motions for you to walk past. Up a set of stone stairs, looks to be about 30 stone steps, up onto a rocky sort of shoreline.
When she was talking about being accommodating, was her voice at all... Does she, use any sort of threatening tone? Or was
he was there is detect motive.
I would
Insight
imagine
check.
that's...
Yeah. Alright.
Roll an insight check
check. Rolling, and... Okay, I got a 20.
Is that 20 on the die or 20 total?
20 on the die, using physical dice.
Plus your wisdom, and I don't know if
of
you're
2,
or not.
so that...
So 22.
I am not...
She's not... she didn't appear threatening in her actions. Nothing about you screamed threats, but she is definitely firmly in control, and she is definitely the authority figure in this scenario. She does seem genuine in her desires to at least accommodate you to a minimum degree.
Alright.
I ask her, I demand to know what a crime I've been accused of.
And she looks over at you and remind me. I'm sorry. This was
Calder.
Calder.
Calder. That's right. I wrote Reginald. I still haven't changed it off of Reginald.
Sorry.
Not
I've
a
changed
problem.
everything
That's my
several
bad.
times.
She looks down at you and she says, Calder, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my place to judge. I am not the judge or the jury. I will see that you're treated as befitting of the crime that you've been brought here for, as each of you will. I suggest that you take a little bit of time to get to know each other, because from what I recall, you will be here for quite some time. And as you pass her by, I assume you're all walking up the steps past her now?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
guess I am now.
And and as you walk by, you hear her mutter, "Traitor."
Traitor? You mother... You... hang on. I need a proper accent.
This is just Calder that hears this.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Excuse me, woman?
You see her eyes come up to meet yours, but she doesn't say anything else.
Do you know something I don't?
What's going on over there?
You see a
What
slight...
are you talking about?
You see a slight smile cross her face. I think you might know more about this than I do. Carry on.
I don't.
You see her reach over and you see she's got a long sword strapped to one side. I said, carry on.
Fine.
And as you walk past, she visibly
I march
relaxes.
away, clearly
Okay.
pissed off.
Okay. Alright, so you make your way up the stairs. You do see between the docks and the gateway that you're being brought to, it's a very large portcullis with a metal grate in front. It looks almost like a fortress, a relatively small fortress, only about 50 or so feet long on this side. If you look off to the side, you do see another smaller building attached to the wall on the right-hand side. As you approach, you get up to the gate, and each of the guards, one of the guards standing at the gate, turns and hits sort of a bell of sorts. Just hits it, strikes it with his club. You hear a thung as you see one of the gates opens up. There's a second gate behind it, about 10 feet back, and he motions you to enter.
First I wish to try rolling perception to see if there's anything going on around besides just the hitting of the bell.
Okay, go ahead and roll perception.
And I roll, and I get a 7.
Well, the bell's loud. You do hear a very slight echo as the bell sort of makes its way through this space. Otherwise, no.
Alright, then I walk through the next open portcullis.
Okay. So the second gate hasn't opened yet. It's just the front gate that's open. He's motioning you into a space that's about 15 feet wide by 10 feet deep.
Well, I walk into that.
Okay. Does the rest of the party follow?
Yes,
I
and
assume those
Kledash-
line of guards are still behind us.
Correct, yeah. You have about 20 odd guards behind you, plus Asha.
Alright.
As Kledash steps into the space, he looks up at where the first gate opened up to, and he says, "Oh yeah, that looks inviting."
You hear Ash's voice from behind you. We do our best with the resources we're given. Okay, so each of you makes your way in, and you're followed by one of the guards, and Asha is directly behind you. As you hear the gate closes behind you. Then the second gate begins to open up. A little bit more slowly than the first one, but it does eventually make its way up, and each of you are able to step out into the next space. One of the guard that followed you in sort of pushes, probably would be Tarin. Not Tarin, sorry, it would be Kledash. Pushes Kledash forward. because he's just the one who's nearest.
Man, watch yourself.
Yeah, accommodating my ass.
And Asha sort of follows you in. As you walk into the space, you do see it's a relatively wide open space, open to the sky. There's no roof over this particular space. You do note that it is a smaller space than the outside walls, so there are probably some sorts of hallways or rooms between the two. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Sorry, I just had to count how wide the space was. You see this space is about 35 feet wide. Goes back about 25 feet, and there are 8. There are 8 other prisoners that have been scattered throughout this space. Some of them are sort of sitting off to this side, just working on their own, maybe like a little project or something to pass the time. And you see a few others off to the back right are actually chipping away at a couple of boulders using various implements. Asha walks up. Go ahead.
I first wish to roll perception on the people working on sort of a project to see what all that is.
Okay, go ahead and roll.
I get a 10 plus my 2 means 12.
So 12. Okay. You do see that there are 2 individuals there, both of whom are human males. One of them is he looks to be sculpting something out of clay, almost. Perhaps not quite clay, but he's definitely shaping something out of some sort of earthen material. The other actually holds what appears to be a small knife and is carving something out of the wood. There are 2 guards, just sort of keeping an eye on them, not actively standing over them, but definitely keeping an eye on the 2 of them.
Alright.
Asha walks in behind you. This is the labor and recreation yard. You'll be brought here every morning to perform whatever duties we decide to assign to you. You'll also be brought out here if you decide that you need to see a little bit of the sky. If you'll walk over to your right, and you see all the way at the right-hand side, between where the people are chipping away at the rocks and where the 2 people that were shaping things are, there's a set of wooden double doors, and one of which is ajar. If you'd like to, please head over to your right, and I will show you to your dormitories. And now she's walking in. She's walking in front of you now.
Tarin follows as he's ordered, because he wishes not to get knocked out again.
Okay.
If this is your idea of accommodating, then I'm so excited to see what your idea of dormitories are.
One of the guards that was standing by the gate sort of gives a little chuckle.
Kledash follows, and as he does, he sort of scans the area to see if he can just look for any weaknesses in the area to see if he could possibly break through in the future.
Okay, roll perception. Okay. A 10. Alright, so you... you don't see any particular weakness in the walls. You do see what appear to be a couple of patched up spaces right around the doors that you're being brought to. But they don't look recent. Looks like they've been, setting for a while. Okay. So you make your way over to the dormitory doors. One of them is already partially open. Asha pushes them both open. Let me actually throw how her name is spelled in the chat, just so you guys who have notes. Sorry, Athe. I've been saying Asha this whole time. Sorry, Athe.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, you've been saying Asha.
I've been playing too much Overwatch. Athe. And I don't know why that didn't show up on the... Anyway. Problem for another time. Refresh. There we go. So she pushes both of the doors open and walks inside without looking past. The guard that came in with her that has been following you motions for you to follow her.
Yeah, I do as I'm told and follow Athe.
Okay.
Kledash does as well.
Okay. At this point, unless you say otherwise, I'm going to assume that you do, so you don't have to keep telling me. Okay? Sound good?
Roger
Yeah.
that.
Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like that.
So you're brought into a hallway. It's about 20 feet across, and if you look to your left, you look to your right. The left kind of curves around. You do see that this is definitely a hallway that's between the outer wall and the center wall that you were seeing around that labor and recreation area. Directly in front of you is a pair of banded double doors that are locked. They do appear to be locked, and Athe is standing to your right, where you see a single banded door with sort of the window with bars on it, and she jingles a set of keys, opens it up, and pulls open the door. And as you file in that way, you see behind her there's just a flat wall. As you enter the space, you see, you walk in, and immediately you see 4 10 by 10 prison cells. Vertical bars running floor to ceiling. All of the doors are currently open. They open inward. And all of which are currently open, as it's the daytime. Each of the spaces has a couple of personal effects here and there, and she walks up to a stairway in the rear of the room, a spiral staircase, and walks up that staircase. You make your way up to a second, a third, and finally a 4th floor. You get up to the 4th floor, which is the top of the stairwell, and she motions you in. In the upper floors, there's again 4 prison cells and just barely enough space for the stairwell to terminate and go into a small 5-foot hallway between the prison cells. She motions.
I wish to roll perception to see if anything looks odd.
Okay. Define odd for me. I'm just not sure what you're looking for.
Like any sort of like runes or trap-like looking things.
Okay. In that case, if you're looking for something magical, that would be an Arcana check.
Yeah, I'll roll Arcana, which is a +5 for me. Which I got a 10 + 5, 15, since I am proficient in Arcana.
So, 15? Okay. As you walk up, you do note behind you, the bottom level doorway has a rune etched in the back of the door. You don't recognize it, and it is a single rune, but you do not see any other markings along the way. No magical markings along the way.
Alright.
Gonna skip back in time real quick. As we go through the celled areas, Kledash looks around to sort of judge who his cellmates are, just who else is in here in this jail, their species, their, if they're muscular or not, their size, all that.
Okay. So as you are walking through the courtyard, because as you're walking up, there's currently no one in this dormitory area.
Oh, okay. So there's nobody.
There were, I believe, 8 individuals in the courtyard that you would have been able to look at. Would you like to roll a perception and get a size up on them?
I would have noticed that probably with the 10 that I got, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, because you were looking for weaknesses in the walls, you weren't really looking at you didn't at least tell me that you were looking at the people. Just for future reference, if you tell me you're looking at something, I'm not going to tell you detail outside that. So.
Yeah.
In this case, he was looking specifically for weaknesses on the walls, not the people. He couldn't really do both, so that makes sense.
Correct. Yeah.
14.
So a 14 for this. The individuals in the labor yard, they look. The ones who were chipping away at rock definitely have a little bit of muscle to them. They are lean, absolutely. They're two individuals. The two individuals who were down, sort of crafting. One of them you couldn't get a good read on because they were facing away, but one of them is kind of thin and wiry. Across on the other side of the labor yard, there was another set. I've neglected to mention, my mistake. There was another set of stones that were on tables that were being sorted through by two individuals. One of them was a human male, average height, average build, and the other was a dwarf male with no beard. He's a dwarf, so he could probably scrap, but nothing in particular stood out, besides the fact that he's the only dwarf you've seen so far. So as you get up to the top, she motions you, Athe motions you into the cells. She says, this is where you'll be staying for, well, until they tell me to let you out.
Dormitories, huh?
Mm-hmm. And you see each of these cells has a single bed. There's a bucket, and what appears to be a single-piece stool. It's basically a wooden stump that's been put in the cell. We hope that your stay with us is a positive experience for you. And if you would like, you can come down to the recreation area. If you would like, we will be letting you know when we will be serving meals. We serve meals every 12 hours. We will rouse you. You will be required to eat. Do we have any questions? And as she says the word questions, she pulls off her helm, and you see that the pointed ears of an elf.
My character just says, no, not at the moment at least. And just walks off into, like, one of the cells.
Okay.
I can't hear you over the sound of the music. What did you say?
I said my character says, no, not at the moment. And then walks off
You've
into
managed to
one
go
of
quieter.
Yeah, I turn the music down
I
slightly.
don't. Okay. My character says, not at the moment. And walks off into one of the cells.
Every time you say what your character is saying, you decide to go.
He's walked into the cells and said, not at a moment.
Right.
Not
okay.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Athe
That's
is standing there expectantly. Right. Well, time of day is about midday. I will expect to see you down in the labor yard at, where's my notes here? Back of the page. Meals are served. I definitely wrote this down and I can't find it for some reason. I will expect you down in the labor yard in approximately 4 hours. If we don't see you, we'll send someone up to get you. Understand?
What kind of labor would be expected to be done down here?
She looks over to you. Well, in your case, probably going to be breaking up some of the ore. This facility is a ore reclamation facility. We're sent rocks. Sometimes we're sent deposits that have been carved from the rock, and it is our job to sort them, remove them from the rock, sort them, and bring them back out for the glory of Sundi. Do I have any other questions? Good. And she walks down the stairs and out of sight.
Kledash makes a perception check on her as she walks away, just to catch anything on her features, anything that might give him some information on her.
Okay.
Well, that would be an
Go
insight
ahead.
more than perception
Yeah,
check.
well,
Depends on what you're looking
hang
for.
on. Let me, please.
Sorry.
If you're looking for physical characteristics, that would be perception.
Yeah, physical characteristics.
Okay.
9.
Nothing particularly unique stands out. You do she is wearing a short cloak, and as she turns around, you do see the emblem of the House of Hestmark, which is the nobility of this region. But otherwise, nothing really stands out apart from the fact that she's an elf.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got about 4 hours for you to decide what you'd like to do. Is there anything in particular you would like to do?
I think I shall start strolling around the prison and getting a feel for the place, if I can.
Okay. Just sort of making your way down.
Yeah?
Alright.
It's called casing the joint for the inevitable breakout.
Yeah, Deimos is going to be looking around trying to be looking for potential weak spots in the jail.
Okay. Do you travel together?
My character. Sorry.
Sorry, are you two going to be traveling together?
Do we want to be
wanna?
traveling to?
We can divide and cover up more ground. Splitting the party's the best idea.
Yeah, let's divide. Yeah, no, that sounds like a better idea. We can share notes when we eventually get shoved back in here.
Okay.
Let's split the party.
Alrighty. And who was speaking next? I'm sorry.
That was me. I said that my character will go strolling around looking for anything magic related, any runes, etc.
Okay, Tarin. So you'll take a closer look at the areas and see if you can catch anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kledash will be looking for the nearest window.
So there is actually a single window on this floor. It is on the opposite side from where the stairs are. So the stairs are on the eastern side. Then a short hallway between the 4 jail cells. And then immediately at the end of the last jail cell, where the hallway ends, there's a small, probably about 3 foot tall by about 4-inch wide opening in the stone. At this time of day, there's a little bit of sunlight streaming through, but the sun is beginning to set, so that light coming in is getting stronger. Not beginning to set, excuse me, it's just becoming afternoon.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to roll to... let's see, that was Deimos and Calder, I believe, was it? Were the two that were going to go around and see what you can see?
Deimos is one of them, yes.
And I think it was Calder. Okay, so...
Yep, sorry.
Excuse me. Where would you each like to go? What area in the jail that you've seen so far?
So we've seen...
I mean, the goal is to see the areas we haven't seen so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen the areas I've seen.
Okay.
Let's see what's... Yeah.
So when you get to the bottom of the stairwell, each of so you're on the 4th floor, 3rd, 2nd, you get down to the 1st floor. You go back out into the hallway that Athe brought you in. Looking down this hallway, you have the doorway to the left that goes out into the labor and recreation yard, and you have a set of banded double doors that are closed on the right that have a fairly obvious lock on the door. And then the hallway curves out of sight to the left.
Can I use a check to see whether or not I figure out where that door would lead?
The one on the right, yeah.
The locked door.
Okay. Yeah,
Like, can I determine it? Yeah.
You walk up to it. It's a solid wooden door. There isn't really any indicator about what it is, where it goes. Unfortunately, there isn't a window on the door.
There's a keyhole, right?
There's a physical padlock on the front of it between 2 of the bands. Unfortunately, yeah, that kind of door.
No, like small crack in the door, like underneath or something I could try and poke my eye through.
Sure. There's a, I would say, inch and a half gap at the bottom of the door. If you'd like to try and peek under.
1.5 inches is pretty big. but all right.
Yeah, you can shove your foot through it.
Doesn't matter. I rolled an 8.
Okay. You bend down to
That's
look
with
underneath.
mods.
Right. So you bend down to look under the door. You can't see very far. You see the legs of maybe what could be a chair. That's about as far as you can see.
Calder, what do you see?
Not a lot. I don't think I can get a good angle here.
Let me have a try. I will
Alright.
attempt to look under the door as well.
Alrighty.
Or Deimos will attempt to look under the door as well.
I keep an eye out.
Okay.
It's perception. 18 plus 1 is 19.
So 19. Alright, you see a little further out, you do see several pieces of furniture. Tables and chairs and so on. Along one wall you see 2 sets of feet. You see one of them is pacing around and the other is standing still. As the one paces, you hear the clink of armor. And you said, and I'm sorry, Calder, you said you were keeping an eye out?
Yes.
Alright, as this is happening, you see a shadow walk across the opening to the courtyard, and a guard
I
pokes
kick
his head
him
in.
to indicate that he should probably stand up.
Okay.
Standing up, looking, attempting to look not suspicious.
And at this point, a guard takes a step in and pokes his head. Oi! Get away from there! Those aren't your quarters.
Sorry, we got a bit lost. Can you tell me
course.
where the lavatories are?
You've got buckets in your cells. Go.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Dormitories. Deimos says, very sarcastically.
As this is happening, Kledash finishes up looking at the window and starts heading out into the courtyard.
Now, forgive me, did you want to look out the window? It is about head height. You are able to look out.
No, he was mostly looking at the bars on the window, but he's going to head out to the
Okay.
courtyard.
This particular window has no bars just because it's essentially an arrow slit. It's very narrow.
Yeah.
Alright, so you start making your way down as well. So in the amount of time that it took, yeah, you'd get down as the guard comes in to the hallway. At which point the guard looks at the 3 of you and says, "Oh, you're the new ones. Well, listen. Don't poke your nose where it doesn't belong. You're liable to get it smashed in." And he puts his hand against his club. Got it?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, now, I'm sorry, forgive me. Which one have I not been paying attention to? Tarin, I
I
think?
had said that I wanted.
Tarin.
Yeah, I said I wanted to go looking around for like runes.
Okay. So in the space immediately around you, I will say, name 3 places where you'd like to look, and I'll have you roll perception for each of them.
I'd like to look at the working area, the
The labor yard.
the hall first from the labor yard, like the hall going upwards from the labor yard next.
Oh,
before
into
the one
the
that goes-
dormitories? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'd like to check in my little dormitory area.
So in your cell?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say, so why don't I do this just to make it easy for myself? I put my markers away because I'm an idiot. Give me one
we
quick
know this
second.
already.
There we go. So this is the dormitory area here. This is the 4th floor dormitory area. You have your stairs here going down, and you have these cells. here. Doors towards the back. There's the slit window there. Who is taking what room? Who? So this is the one closest to the stairwell.
I was gonna take one of the. I was gonna take one of the ones next to the window. As for just trying to stay out of.
That one.
Mostly out. Yeah.
Okay.
Kledash will be next to Tarin.
Kledash will be next to Tarin.
I'll take the other cell next to the window.
Okay. Yeah, there.
Or Deimos, yep.
There we go. Okay. That's just for my reference. I'm not really gonna do a whole lot with it unless you're gonna get into a fight,
Yep.
but I doubt it. And on this floor. But hey, weirder
that a
things have
challenge?
happened. Well,
Dormitories, huh? Just
I'm not gonna tell you how to live.
I mean, you kind of are.
All right. So you. Sorry, this was Kledash that was going to be looking around for runes or Arcana.
That was me.
No, that was
Tarin.
Tarin.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
Tarin.
Tarin. Okay. So why don't we go in the order that you presented? So we'll do the labor yard first, then the hallway, then
Yep.
up at the dorm. Okay.
All right.
So first roll perception, and then I'll tell you whether you need to roll Arcana if you saw anything.
Yep. That'd be a 15.
15. Okay. You make your way slowly around the labor yard, just watching. The guards do recognize that you're new, so they don't try to restrain you from going anywhere at the moment. But you make your way around the labor yard. Let's see, what languages do you read?
I know Common and Elven.
Common and Elvish. Okay. So you do see in Elvish, in vertical writing along one side of the gateway of the portcullis that you came in through, you do see the words in Elvish, labor will set you free. Other than that, you don't see any other particular carving or writing. You do, however, notice in the opposite corner from where you came in, there's a second portcullis. And as you peer through, you see it's another double gated portcullis. And on the other side of it is, let's see, from where you are, you would be able to see there's a forge and a blacksmith, each working away. On the room that's on the opposite side of this second portcullis, which is currently closed.
All right. Can I try and make anything out about like the two working on the other side of the portcullis, the blacksmith, and all that?
Okay. Yeah. You currently see two individuals. One is going away at the. I'll just consider this part of the. I believe. What did you roll, a 15? I'll consider this part of the 15.
Yeah.
You do see one is a blacksmith. He's hitting away. It doesn't look like a weapon that he's crafting. It looks like some sort of a tool or implement. The other at the forge is very carefully picking up small pieces of metal material and inspecting them and setting one to one side, one to the other. Once he has enough of them, he puts whatever it is that he's looking for into a mold and puts it into the forge to be forged into an ingot.
All right.
Sorry about my girlfriend in the background.
It's fine.
She's doing a difficult jump, and she's managed to literally walk off the jump up from a stationary position. It's really impressive how bad it is she's making a single jump.
Go ahead and roll for the hallway.
All right. Roll now, and that will be a 13.
13. Okay. So you do already know about the sigil that's been etched into the back of the door of the dormitories. Other than that, you don't see any other arcane markings of any sort. You do see a couple of scuffs here and there, what may have been something carved into the wall that has since been scratched away. And for reference, as you make your way past the hallway that your two buddies are trying to sneak a peek through, you walk past them and around the corner to the left, and that actually ends in a wall. So it goes around the corner and stops. There's nothing else at in that hallway.
Alright.
I feel like I should be drawing this out just so I can keep track of where everyone is, but I'll do that while we're all chatting. Okay, so you're gonna go up to your space now.
Yep.
Okay. So go ahead and roll perception for that. Actually, roll Arcana for the sigil that's been etched into the back of the door, because you do know about that one, but you were kind of being pushed along, so you didn't have a lot of time to look at it.
Okay. 21 is my full roll. But
21?
like full 21
21 total. Yeah. Okay.
is Arcana.
Yeah, for your Arcana check, you do recognize the sigil. It is the elven sigil, the elven icon for alarm almost. It's not quite the right word, but it is for notification or that type of idea. Elvish is not a perfect language for this kind of idea.
Yeah, an alert spell for like if something's going on.
So you then make your way up, and with a 21, you do recognize that the sigil was put here for a purpose, and you don't know if it's active, but it was definitely put there for a purpose. It's not just randomly etched there.
Yep.
All right, so you make your way up to your dormitory area. This is all right. So you have that one there. Go ahead and roll perception. Roll investigation actually, because it's a small space. Because perceiving that's a dormitory, all right.
All right, that would.
Oh, I think you cut out
That
there.
would be
What was
the
that?
intelligence.
Yeah, it'd be intelligence.
All right. 6.
Okay. 6 as you walk around the small. It's 5 foot by 5 foot space. There's not a whole lot, unfortunately.
1 second, my internet's
Okay. Well, while we're doing that,
freaking
let's
out.
change gears over to. Let's see, what else were folks doing? We had Deimos and Calder were checking stuff out. Tarin, Kledash, what were you doing?
Be right back.
I was going out to the yard where everyone was working.
Okay.
Internet's
So remind me what it was that you were trying to do.
I was going to walk out there.
No, I'm talking
Sorry,
to Kledash now. So
Yeah.
you can just go ahead and leave the call and rejoin it and see if that helps. What was it? I'm sorry. What were you trying to do in the labor yard?
I was going to sit down at the sorting table because, of course, Kledash is rather small, so breaking rocks and hefting them around isn't probably the best thing for him.
Okay. All right. So you make your way out to the labor yard, and you sit down next to the. Let me get my paper here. I believe it was 2 individuals that were sorting.
Yep. The human male and the dwarf male with no beard. He sits next to the dwarf.
Okay, you sit next to the dwarf. They don't acknowledge you. They're pretty intent on their work. The guard that's standing there watching both of them gives you a look, because he doesn't immediately recognize you. He does know that you're a prisoner, but he doesn't immediately recognize you individually. But he doesn't move to stop you. So you sit down at the table next to them.
Kledash picks up one of the rocks, looks at it, and then sort of looks between the male and the dwarf and says, "So what's the name of this game?"
And the dwarf. Find the electrum and they won't beat you. And he returns to his work.
He eyeballs the ore again. What does the ore look like?
Roll just a straight intelligence check. Oops. The overlay didn't update.
I'm sorry to ask, but since my
A 2.
A 2. Well, the rock has something shiny in it. That's about all you got.
I'm
Kledash
sorry to
is-
have to ask, but back in the dormitory, what did you say? Because my internet went on the fritz and I couldn't say.
I changed gears and I started working with Kledash for now, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
Oh, alright, sorry.
Not a problem. That's why we have multiple people.
After
Well.
seeing the shiny metal, Kledash just shrugs and says, "Sure." And he,
You do see that there are two piles being formed, one of which has shiny and the other does not.
he throws the rock into the shiny pile.
Okay. It's only about a foot away. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
You don't have a dexterity
then-
penalty, so I wouldn't make you roll for it.
He then turns to the dwarf and says, "So what's your name?"
Oh, I'm on the wrong side, away from my notes. He's continues on his work. He doesn't really focus much on you, but name's Halen.
"Oh, well, I'm Kledash. What are you in here for?"
Doesn't matter.
"Well, lets me know if you're gonna shank me late in the night or not."
He puts down the rock he was looking at, and for the first time, he actually sees the fact that you're a Dragonborn. They really take from anywhere, don't they? Well, dragon, if you must know, I was caught stealing food. They decided that was enough to bring me here.
"Aw, just trying to eat? That sounds terrible. Shouldn't put a man away for that."
That's what I said, but unfortunately, my commanding officer saw it differently.
Kledash lets out a then turns to the human. "And how about you?" as he grabs another rock to actually do something.
The human, average height, average build, glances at you, acknowledges you with sort of a nod, but doesn't actually respond to you. Is very, very intent in his tasks. Most likely didn't hear or understand what you were saying.
"Oh, I see. Guess you're gonna be Stone Man until I figure out your name."
Are you always like this? Says the man. The man says to you, are you always like this?
He looks over the rock and he's like, "Yeah, most of the time."
Great. He returns to his work.
Kledash sort of bends over to Halen and says, "Now he's the one who's gonna shank me."
Oh, no. That's Erebos. He ain't gonna hit nobody. He's not from around this parts. They caught him trying to cross the border out to Alyssa. Alyssa, because of your familiarity with just this area, Alyssa being the northern country away from Sundi, with whom Sundi has a very tenuous political relationship.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad, neither.
Wouldn't be too bad were he here in the first place. Were he here legally in the first place? I don't have enough room on the board for this. Oops. And it's at this point that Erebos looks at you. Is it so bad to want to go home? And he returns to his work.
Kledash sorts another rock or two and says, "Nah, that's not bad. At least you got a home to go back to. My family don't want me back in mine." Kind of looks sorrowful at the rock.
And Halen, you see this? He rubs his bare chin. That's what they give you when they don't want you anymore, my kind.
Oh man, that must have been tragic. Is it a good beard?
It was glorious. And he motions at about slightly below his waist area. I'm gonna just sketch the areas because there isn't enough room to do a full chart of them. But I'm just gonna sketch where everything is on the board here, just so I can keep track of where y'all are going.
Kledash stays silent for a little bit and just sorts rocks. Then, after a while, he looks over at Halen again and says, "So, how many people have tried to break out of here that you've known about?"
Break out? No one. No one gets out of Hestmark. He looks around.
How many attempts?
He looks around at the guards. There is a guard about 10 feet away from you that's looking in your direction. Doesn't make a threatening motion, but is looking in your direction. And he glances across the table at the guard. Like I said, no one gets out of Hestmark.
See. I would assume Kledash notices the guards doing that.
If you turn and look.
Yeah. So Kledash sees that and he just looks at Halen and goes, "Oh, I see."
Alright, so for reference, I just drew a quick sketch of the map. This is the portcullis area that you came through, that I just finished sketching there. Labor and Recreation Yard. Here's some of the folks chipping away at rocks. Here are the two people that are sort of doing their own thing. Here is the sorting table, and here's some more rocks. This is the second portcullis that I believe it was Tarin saw.
Yep, that was me. The one with the smith and the forge.
Yep. And what you did see was the smith and the forge here. You didn't get a good view of what everything was, but you did see this is the back wall.
Yep.
So that's what you've seen so far. You've also seen the front area here on your approach. So shifting over, let's see. It was Kledash. Shifting over, Calder and Deimos. Oh, sorry, Calder and... Yes, Calder and Deimos.
Yep.
You done anything interesting since being told off by the guard?
Has a guard done anything else besides telling us off, and has he done anything else, or did he just tell us off and then walk away?
I know, he is standing there, just to make sure you don't try anything else, but he hasn't moved to, move you anywhere.
Right.
He just told
Back
you
to
to
the
move away
dormitories
from
then, I guess.
Okay. So you two go back up
We're
to the
not
dormitories.
actually going back to the dormitories. We're gonna try and find we're gonna go up one flight of stairs, then try and find another way around from the floor up. You said we were on.
We're on the bottom floor.
So
let's go one floor up.
When you go into the dormitories, when you go up a level, it's the same on each level. There's no doorway on the opposite side. I mentioned on the top floor, there's a stairwell. You come up, you've got the 4 jail cells, and then a small window in the wall. Every level above first level is like that in the dormitory. There is no second level to the lower floors. There's no mirrored second level to the lower floors.
Okay, so all the dormitories. So going up the stairs that we come down from, all we see is dormitories, and there's no long corridor of dormitories we can go down another set of stairs. I'm just trying to bypass this one guard. Because I don't want to cause trouble yet.
For reference, you have
Spoiler,
seen...
I intend to cause trouble.
For reference, you did see Kledash walk past him, and he didn't move to stop him.
Well, no, but I've just said, where are the lavatories? And he said where the lavatories are. So I need to make it look like I'm going towards the lavatories at least.
Well, you can do that if you'd like.
That is how deception... I I could have wanted to just walk straight through the guard, but then the guard would be like, "Don't you need to go to the laboratory?" This is how deception works.
Depends if he cares or not.
This is true, but I don't know if he cares or not. So I'm gonna make it look like I'm going to the laboratory.
Okay.
Well, he can go up there. Deimos is gonna go break off and head into the labor area, cause Calder was the one who
further.
Calder was the one who claimed he needed to go to the laboratories. For all he knows, I could just been trying to help him find the laboratories.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
Deimos will be
So you're just
wandering
gonna wander
into
off without a word.
Sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah, but Deimos is gonna wander off into the labor area. I believe, labor area is like directly outside the dormitories, right?
Correct. It's dormitory door here. That's the door you were trying to get into, and then outward into this area is the labor yard.
Okay.
It's not to scale. It's obviously not only 15 by 15, but unfortunately, the way that I have the camera set up, it's not big enough to actually hold the entire map. So I did the next best thing.
Fine. Sure, fine. But I'm gonna wander there into the.
Okay. So you make your way out to the labor yard. You see Kledash across the way talking to the two individuals at the sorting table.
Do I overhear this Do I overhear the conversation they're having?
I would say at this point, if you walk over to join them, you may. I don't know how loudly they're talking, or if they're making any attempt to be quiet. But I wouldn't say that it would. Excuse me. I wouldn't say that it would be particularly difficult if you wanted to.
He was there were intermittent laughs from Halen. Would I have heard those?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You would have heard him at least break away from his work at a minimum. Also, sorry to derail slightly, but I just got my Elder Word box and it's beautiful. Anyway, go on.
I'm gonna try to listen in at a distance while I make my way across the room to go explore.
Okay. So you're gonna make your way over to the other side?
That's the place we haven't explored yet, right?
Correct. There's another set of doors here.
Sure, yeah, I'm gonna walk across the room, and I'm gonna try to, eavesdrop in between Kledash's and Halen's conversation.
Okay. Yeah, they're not making, they didn't tell me, they're not making any attempt to hide the topic of their conversation, so at this point in the conversation, they would just be talking about Erebos.
Okay. As I walk by, I'm going to greet in Dwarvish to Halen, just as in, what's up, sort of deal.
And Halen looks up at you. This is as Erebos is talking. Halen looks up at you and gives you a small wave and an interested, a curious look, but doesn't say anything else to you.
Okay.
I apologize. I had to go do something. Did I miss anything?
I don't believe so.
All right.
I might do a brief recap, but nothing major. You're just exploring the area at this point. At this point, it's been about, I would say, 2 hours or so of just sort of looking around and talking and so on. So are you going to make your way over to the stores here?
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna go to those set of doors and see if I can, open them and see where it goes. I just want to look around. I want to know what's there.
Okay. So there is a guard standing at the door, and as you approach, he holds up his hand. What do you want?
What's behind here? Or excuse me, let me get into character here. What's what you got behind here?
Nothing that you need to concern yourself with, prisoner.
Is the door have any indication of what it might be, or what might be behind the door, or is it just like a plain door or something?
The door itself is relatively plain. It is double banded. You don't see a lock on it. Just sort of glancing past the guard. But
I'll note
there is a guard standing between you and the door.
I will note that as point of interest. Okay. Deimos is just gonna turn around and is there anywhere else we haven't explored yet? Yeah, Deimos is just gonna turn around and just gonna let that one slide.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to do, both between now and when you were told to assemble? Any of you?
I'd like to go down and, you said there were 2 people just off doing their own thing in one of the corners?
Yep, one of them was sort of shaping clay or dirt or something, and the other one was appeared to be whittling.
Yeah, I wish to go try talking with them.
Okay, so you make your way down the stairs. You walk up to the individuals that are working in the corner. The one who is shaping whatever material it was, as you approach, the material falls apart and scatters to the ground, and he looks up at you with just with a look of surprise, not aggression, but a look of surprise.
Hello there.
Hi. I'm sorry. He points down at the dirt where the material had fallen. I just have to, and he scoops it up, and you notice as he touches the dirt, it sticks together in a way. It's very dry dirt, but it sticks together and it holds a form while he's touching it that doesn't quite align with that kind of dirt.
Can I roll Arcana to see if it's any sort of like magic?
If you'd like.
That's what I want to do, so I'm gonna roll Arcana, and I am going to get in 23.
23? Okay. I'm trying to think of what you would know at this level. You do recognize that it is magic. It is some sort of basic transmutation magic. What specifically it is, you wouldn't really know. You wouldn't be super familiar with this magical field, but he is definitely using practicing some kind of magic to shape the dirt. You do notice that, I believe I mentioned earlier, there are 2 guards sort of watching, not just passively watching, not standing over them, but passively watching each of the pairs this goes on. And as you approach the group, a 3rd guard actually sort of strolls slowly over just to keep an eye on the 3 of you.
I continue talking to the person shaking the dirt. Into transmutation magic, are you? Interesting.
The man, his hands shake and the dirt falls to the ground again, and he looks up at one of the guards who does look down. He is seeing what's going on here. You do note that his hands are now visibly shaking. It's just, you have to keep your mind sharp when you're in here. There's nothing else to do. I'm sorry, and he touches one hand to the ground where the pile of dirt is, and the pile of dirt actually dissipates into the ground.
Fair enough. And my character would cast prestidigitation to just form a small ball of steel-looking stuff into his hands. Just make the little formal one, you know.
Okay, so you prestidigitate a minor magical trick. A non-magical trick. Okay, yeah. So it if you create a small non-magical object, it'll only last about 6 seconds. If that's what you're intending to do, just a poof, and then it disappears.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm intending to do here.
Okay, so your hands move and you shape. You create this shape. You said it was a metallic sphere, almost.
Yes.
As you do this, the metallic sphere appears in your hand, and one of the guards comes from behind you and grabs your wrist. There'll be none of that. Any magic has to go through the overseer. You're new. I'll let it by this time. You haven't seen him yet. But no magic without consulting us first. Got it?
Alright, duly noted.
And the man who had been shaping the dirt is now... His hands have stopped shaking, and he's looking at you very keenly.
I'm not exactly the greatest at any of this, but it is an interest of mine.
Why are you here?
Stole something.
Me
You know,
too. He looks down
I
at the
see.
dirt, and he touches the dirt and draws it upward, and he draws basically a small cylinder of dirt up, and he collapses it in both of his hands and starts creating another shape in his hands.
What is it that you stole?
It's not important.
I see.
I didn't think it was, but
But then you got sent here.
I was told that I could take... My teacher, he gave me... He looks up at one of the guards, who's not making any sort of threatening motion. I was caught with something I wasn't supposed to have. I didn't know that it was stolen. But my teacher abandoned me and left me to come here.
I see. So your teacher was a thief, so it seems.
So it would seem. I don't have the best of luck in choosing my instructors.
Well, that's odd. And I'm assuming no one listened when they told them your mentor was the one who stole the object.
My word against his. No. He's got respect. He's got the ear of the Olven King, and I was just a son of a peasant. No one important.
I see. What would your name happen to be?
My name is Alden.
Nice to meet you all. I'm
What's
Tarin.
yours? You're Tarin?
I'm yes.
Don't speak to many of your kind.
I see. Humans are not very common.
He holds
around
up a
here.
hand. I'm sorry, our kind.
Yeah, it's alright. It's alright. Man, I'm guessing humans around here aren't very common.
No, he twirls a finger and the dirt starts sort of sliding its way around his hand. Magic.
Oh, yeah. That's... Yeah. I've never actually been able to do such a thing as you are. Would you mind, at least somewhat trying to teach me? I'm quite interested, actually.
He looks up at one of the guards. Two of the guards are now standing over you with their hands on their weapons. I don't know about that.
And, overseer.
You'll have to see if Athe lets you keep talking to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
The man who had been whittling sets everything down just on the ground. He turns to one of the guards and hands the knife back to the guard, who accepts it, and the man begins to walk away.
I go and look at what the man whittled away at.
Okay. You pick up the wooden object. It is a fairly detailed toy soldier. You see, a head, two arms. The toy soldier is holding what appears to be a spear of some kind. There's the beginnings of a cape being carved out, but as you get towards the back, and the bottom rear of the shape, it is evident that he's not completed his work.
Huh, the man who was whittling here seems to be rather skilled at his trade.
All of us have something to offer.
Yeah.
That was
Mm.
Iakus. He's probably one of the more skilled craftsmen among us. He gets a little bit
Interesting.
more permission than we do
Mm,
because he helps them get money. If you know what I mean.
I can see that. The person making what they sell is gonna get a bit more permissions than those who don't.
And now at this point, you do see, as you're following the man with your eyes, you see that he walked up to the second portcullis, and he just stands there, doesn't say anything. The second portcullis opens. He steps through, and the second portcullis closes behind him.
So he works with the smith and the forge back there.
Doesn't talk much, but he stays in line, so the guards like him enough to let him help.
Yeah, that seems about fair.
And I'm gonna just put this little conversation on pause real quick. Is there anyone else? Anything else that others would like to do? Let's say you've got about an hour before you're expected to be lined up. Is there anything else you'd like to do really quick?
Yes, I would like to. Kledash would like to chat up Halen on the other patrons that he's met here in the yard.
Okay.
Just to gather information from who else is here.
Alrighty. So let me, flip to that page on my notebook. If I can find my pen. There it is. Skilled. Okay. So how would you like to go about asking?
So as they're sorting rocks, Kledash just, while he's sorting rocks, he just sort of talks arbitrarily to either Halen or Erebos. So, what can you tell me about some of these other guys here with us? And he kind of looks around.
Halen puts down the rock that he's looking at. Well, over there, he points at the 4 individuals who are sort of chipping away at the rock. They're using, things like chisels. One of them is holding a small pick. All over there. You've got Epimetheus, Cadmos, and Melanthios. And I'll put these into the chat once we're done. Oops, I missed a name because there's supposed to be 4 names, but I've only written down 3. Give me 1 second here. And to change the music over to the more appropriate conversational music. Da-da-da-da-da. And the last name is Bernard. So we've got Melanthios, Bernard, Epimetheus, and Cadmos are over there. They're strong, not very smart, so they get to bring us the rocks that we need. The 2 over in the corner, excuse me, the 2 over in the corner he introduces as Iakus and I'm blanking on the other name that I gave.
Alden?
Did I give another name? Alden, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the wrong page and I didn't feel like flipping the page.
Then could you also give me just their races as well?
What
they are?
Everyone is human, with the exception of Halen. Everyone is human.
Okay.
And that is, Melan, Theos, I already did Erebos, Bernard. I assume you know how to spell it, but I'll put it in there anyway. Alden, Cadmos, and Epimetheus. There. So those are the names in the chat.
Okay.
I just have to refresh that because it didn't show up. There we go. And I saw you came in with a batch of 3 others. Don't know your names yet.
So, he's already
He knows your name.
knows my name. Kledash points over to Tarin. He just mentions, I think his name is Tarin, I think. I've heard people talk to him. Not quite sure what he's in for. He said he stole something.
Seems to be a common theme, huh? So at this point, as we just for the sake of finishing up with this small little bits, shifting back over to, I believe it was Tarin was speaking to.
Yep.
Iacus.
Yeah, the one magically messing with the dirt.
Yep. Remind me, is there anything else that you wanted to ask about? You don't. I'm gonna say you don't have a whole lot of time just until you have to line up, or have to report rather.
No, I just end the conversation saying, well, seems that my time to have to do stuff is almost there. Nice talking to you. Hopefully we're able to talk again. And I put out my hand to shake his.
He eyes your hand for a moment, looks at the guard, and then reaches up and clasps your hand once. When you take your hand away, there's a small clump of dirt on it.
Pleasure to meet you. And I hope to meet again. And I walk off.
Alright. So at this point, just wrapping up on the evening, in the, getting to be the early evening. Athe, you do see Athe comes out from, the doorway where the dormitories were. And as soon as she walks out, all of the prisoners drop what they're doing. And you see Alden come back through the portcullis. And they all line up in a row. 2 rows, rather. Sort of here in the center. And she watches this happen, but nonetheless she says, "Prisoners, report!"
I walk to start, lining up.
Okay. Let me grab my other note page. So you, now coming in from behind her is another male, wearing studded leather. He's got a shield on. He has a small leather cap over his head. You can see he has a short sword strapped to one side.
Can I roll Arcane to check if anything they're wearing is somewhat magical?
You can certainly try.
Alright, I roll and I got an 13.
13. You don't notice anything particularly magical about their appearance.
Alright.
So now those of you who... Was there anyone still in the dormitory area? Remind me.
I believe Calder went up to his dormitory to sell the I'm looking for the lavatory lie.
Okay. And then, so Calder, if you were still up there, selling the lie effectively, a guard came up and retrieved you from your dormitory, assuming you didn't resist. Calder.
Sorry, what?
Just want to make sure. Assuming that you were effectively selling the lie of going up to find the lavatory, at this point a guard comes up and retrieves you and brings you back down to the recreation area.
I mean, I said what I was doing. I was looking for a second way around.
Yeah,
Around
unfortunately,
that one guard.
in these levels there isn't really one.
Okay. Then I
Is
would
there-
be wandering around looking for that.
Okay, yeah. So if
If there clearly isn't one, then I would probably go back down the stairs.
Yeah, if you walk out past him, he doesn't make any attempt to stop you from leaving and going out into the recreation area. So at this point, you see Athe has come down. She's called the prisoners to report. Each of them has lined up. There's a conspicuous gap in the rear side of the prisoners, and this second humanoid male is now walking in front of them, hands clasped behind his back, and is walking up and down the lines. Athe sort of motions you to join the line. And then when it comes to things like this, like I mentioned, I'm just going to assume you do it unless you tell me otherwise. So.
I joined the line.
Okay, yeah, this is just for everybody. I'm just going to assume you do whatever it is you're expecting them to do. They're expecting you to do unless you say otherwise. The man walks across the line, just up and down the line. He doesn't make any attempt to really look at any of you. He stops when he gets to one end and turns and looks across the group. My name is Overseer Kron. If there's anything that you want to do, you're going to go through me. I'm speaking, of course, to our newcomers. And he raises a hand to point at you guys. None of the prisoners turn to look, but he does this nonetheless. Understand, we will feed you, we will house you, we will clothe you. We will do everything in our power to make sure that your stay is as comfortable a stay as ours is. One of the prisoners laughs, and Kron does not respond to this. I see that each of you has completed your tasking for the day. When you return to your dormitories, you will find your regular rations have been brought to your cells. You will have 2 hours of unrestricted recreation time, and then you will be expected to return to your cells. He looks over to Asha, who gives him a nod. Some of you have been brought here for rather heinous crimes against the kingdom. Know that it does not matter what you have done. All that matters is that you're here now. He stands and he looks at the group of prisoners, including you, none of whom are looking directly at him. Dismissed. And as he dismisses the group, each of the prisoners starts heading towards the dormitory.
I quickly walk up to the overseer to talk to him real quick.
Okay.
I heard
As
that
you approach,
you're the
he takes-
person
So as you approach, he takes a step back and places a hand on his sword. What is it you need, prisoner?
So I heard you're the one I must ask if I wish to partake in my more magical pursuit.
He glances over at Asha, who is now not paying. She's up and sort of guiding the rest of the prisoners in. You want to do magic?
Yes.
What kind of magic?
Particularly this one. I cast prestidigitation to just make another,
Okay.
like a small box in my hand.
Okay. As you begin to form the spell, he unsheathes his sword entirely and touches a hand to your chest, just to push you slightly away. Never do that unbidden in my presence. Do you understand?
Understood. Understood.
And because he pushed you, what was it that you were trying to do?
Prestidigitation.
To do what?
To make a small, just make a small box in my hand.
Okay. So as you do this, the spell completes and the box does form, but as you're pushed, the box falls to the ground and then disappears as it's just a prestidigitation object. You an illusionist?
Well, that's one of the spells I know. The other one that I find would be particularly helpful here, at least, would happen to be mending. Well, I'd assume it would be somewhat helpful as a sort of medical.
He sheathes his sword. Just for reference, mending can't be used on living objects.
Oh,
Yeah,
mending is
specifically.
just.
Mending is
I forgot.
specifically
Sorry,
for
I forgot it's
non-living
repair.
objects. Yep.
I forgot it's repair.
Not skin
Oh,
mending.
repair.
Yes. Like
Repair.
clothing
Yeah.
and chain links and stuff like that.
Yeah, I could. Well then. Yeah. All right.
So you could fix things.
Yeah. Yes, I could.
Thanks for letting me know. I might have something for you tomorrow. What's your name?
Tarin.
Tarin. Come see me
Yeah.
in the morning. I'll be here.
All right. All right.
Dismissed.
I then go walk back up to my room. The dormitory.
Excuse me. Sorry. Hang on.
It's all right.
So, as each of you goes up to your dormitory, you see the various prisoners break off. They go into their own dormitories. There are a few dorms that are unused. There's only 12 of you. And there's enough floors for 16 of you. So, you get up to the top floor. Each of you goes into your dormitory. And you do find, indeed, a metal plate with a set of rations on it. It is... they are just simple rations. There's no... excuse me. Nothing particular. Some dried meats. There's some grain. You're not given utensils. And there is a small, almost a bowl of water that's in with your rations. As you get to the top of the stairs, you go back into your cells. There's a guard that stands at the top of the stairs, sort of watching you as you decide or not to decide to partake in your food.
My character, seeing as he got here after having been in a fight, basically sees anything as good to eat, and all. So he just kind of eats and drinks.
Okay. So you guys eat. You eat whatever it is that you can eat. It's roughly, this would be considered about 3/4 of a day's rations. Not malnourishing, but definitely not the kind of food you're used to. As you guys finish up, it doesn't take long. It only takes about 10 minutes, if that, to finish your food. Is there anything you guys would like to do before your curfew is enforced?
I go to see if I can talk to the person who was messing with the dirt again.
Yeah. So you're going
Seems
to go.
that-
You're going to go find Iacus.
Yes, I wish to go find Iacus.
Okay. You start making your way down from the top of the dormitory. The guard that's standing at the top of the stairs doesn't make any attempt to stop you. You actually find him on the next floor down. He's still in his dormitory. And now he has a... you see that in his cell, he actually has a small collection of pebbles and rocks and things. And he's sort of hovering one of them above a fingertip as he lies down in his bed. In his cot, really.
My character does the politest thing he can do. It just sort of lightly taps at the cell to sort of announce his presence.
Okay.
Hello.
He the rock drops to his hand and he catches it. You again?
Yeah. That happens to be.
How may I be of service to you?
Oh, I just wish to talk for a while, being as we have a bit of time.
He nods his head over towards the stool that I mentioned before. That's essentially just it's just a stump, basically a solid piece of wood.
Yep, my character sort of walks over and sits on the stump.
For reference, just for the sake of making the sentences flow a little bit better, you can just say I do thing. You don't have to say my character does thing.
Yep. All right.
So you go and take a seat.
Yep. That's I. Oh. So
Eventful.
you also happen to be able to levitate. That's interesting.
Rocks, stone, dirt, it's all the same. Just different sizes.
Fair. I would do more of mine, but I'm scared that the guards are gonna have me for it.
Well, talk to them. I'm sure they'll find something for you to do.
Fair. I did talk to the overseer, and he said in the morning I should have something for one of my skills.
Kron. Yeah, well, whatever it is he tells you to do, you'd better be damn sure you can do it.
Well, I did tell him it's mending, so I hopefully hope he realizes it's limitation.
Okay. As you mentioned the name of the spell, mending, he quirks his head a little bit. He doesn't say anything to it, but he quirks just a little bit.
As far as I've learned, it can repair cloth. It might be able to repair more, but
God knows this place needs a fixer.
yeah, I'd expect that. Seeing it, I don't know if it's normal regiment for this army to carry clubs, but
Army? There's no
guards.
army here.
Fair. The only ones I've seen here with swords are the overseer and whom I'm assuming is his first in command.
Athe
Yeah.
is the one in charge. She doesn't like getting her hands dirty though, so she has Kron to do it for her.
Oh, I see. So the real idea is Athe is in charge, and then Kron is first in command. Alright.
Athe is the one with connections. Kron is the muscle.
I see. Interesting.
Well, you and I are going to have plenty of time to talk.
Yeah, doesn't seem that there's much way out of here. Oh, I happen to notice there's at least one door with an alarm spell on it, or something close at least.
Perceptive. Yep, there's no going out that way. As soon as you
Certainly.
as soon as somebody tries to make their way out there, Asha knows.
Certainly.
This is not the appropriate music for this. Let's try that again.
Yeah, that is definitely more of a happy song that I would have expected for a prison.
So, Iacus settles into his bed and he starts hovering one of the stones again. And from the next cell over, you hear a cough, and you look over and you see Alden sitting on his stool, sitting on his stump again with his with the same small knife that he had before. You do notice, same as the floor above, there is also a guard on this level, and he's sort of standing a little bit closer to Alden's cell.
So I see Alden's back at it.
He can't stop. It's a compulsion, they say.
I see. Well, seems this compulsion does turn out quite magnificent works.
It does indeed. It's the only reason he's still around, honestly.
I see.
He draws a finger from one side of his neck to the other. He's a killer. He was supposed to be gone 2 years ago.
Alright. So, I'll watch out for him.
Every time the Tarmyrans come by to inspect, they hide him away.
Can I roll anything to see if I, know the name Tamirans, or is that something in my character would outright just know off the... Like...
Remind me of your, background.
Urchin.
Oh yeah, in Fandalo you would have heard the name. Absolutely. So House Tarmyran is a relatively minor noble house. They don't have a poor reputation, but they are recognized as being the ones that take care of these kinds of facilities. As a street rat in the capital of Hestmark, it's a name that you would have heard in passing, but wouldn't really mean much to you.
Yeah. All I would know is that they're the prison people.
They're the jailers, yep. That's
Alright.
pretty much the extent of your knowledge.
Alright. I see. He's only here from... at least someone like this would certainly need some form of way to keep somewhat together. The walls aren't crumbling yet, so that's something.
Well, House Tarmyran's got money. They've got money because they've got us.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put a pause in this conversation. Is there anything anyone else would like to do before going to bed for the night?
I'm going to go back, or Deimos is going to go back down to the labor area, see if that door that he got pushed away from is still being guarded, and if not, he's going to try to take a peek-sees.
Okay. In the recreation area currently, there are 4 guards. There's 2 at the door to the dormitory, and 1 at the gate. There is not a guard currently. And a 3rd guard at the portcullis towards the back. So 1 on the portcullis to the front, 1 at the portcullis to the back. There is not currently a guard on that door, but they are all facing inward, and they do notice you as you walk out. Out of the
Is there any?
Sorry, go on.
Is there anyone else in here at the moment besides the guards?
Yes, actually, you do see you don't know his name. But you do see the dwarf that you acknowledged earlier. He is he's pulled up one of the seats from the sorting table, and he's just sort of looking up into the sky.
Okay. Yeah, screw it. Deimos is going to approach the door, or directly across the room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to attempt to inspect the door more closely than he was allowed to last time.
Okay. As you approach one of the doors, the guard who is here at this portcullis goes, "Hey!"
What? What do you want?
Step away from that.
Why? What's behind there?
It's not yours.
Well, yeah, obviously. You fracking took all my stuff. What's behind there? What do you got behind there?
The guard takes a couple of steps towards you.
Fine. I'll step away from the door.
Okay. As you step away
And,
from the door, he continues walking, and he's now standing, not at the door, but about halfway between the door and the portcullis, and he stops about there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna step away, and I'm gonna go try to strike a conversation with Halen.
Okay.
As he goes to talk to Halen, since he was messing with the door, Kledash has already arrived and is starting to sit down with Halen.
All right. Cool. Thank you. So yeah, he's gonna walk over, and you're just gonna pull up a chair.
Mhm.
Is that okay? So you pull up a chair as Kledash approaches.
I'm going to once again greet Halen in Dwarvish, and say,
Excuse
"What's
me,
up?"
As Deimos approaches. I'm sorry.
Okay. But yeah, as I approach, Deimos is going to greet in Dwarvish to Halen, and he's going to say in Dwarvish, "Bunch of assholes these guards are, huh?"
It's like I told you. They don't want to hurt you. Not talking to anyone in particular. He hasn't actually looked at you.
Okay.
Kledash looks at the two of you and just sort of quizzically like, the hell are you all talking about?
Yeah, because I am so my speaking Dwarvish hasn't really roused any particular attention from Halen.
None in particular. He didn't acknowledge you earlier, but he hasn't said anything to you that would indicate any sort of special interest.
Okay, sure.
At the moment, he doesn't really seem like he's paying attention to you.
Okay.
And just is sort of responding out of habit.
And then Kledash is asking what the hell we're going on about. Yeah.
Because he doesn't understand Dwarvish. Oh.
And he says,
switching to common. Deimos trying to shoot the shit.
Well, if I'm going to join the conversation, y'all better cut that out.
And as you two are talking, Halen is still looking up at the sky. My people don't appreciate what it's like being told when you can see the sky.
I don't imagine anyone likes it when they're... I don't imagine anyone takes it kindly being told what they're allowed to do and when.
You know, it's something that you don't realize that you've ever lost until it's taken away. He now looks over to both of you. But I suppose that's not something that your kind really understands, is it?
Kledash just shakes his head in acknowledgement, but he says, "Man, you don't know what it's... I guess you know what it's like to be kicked away from your family. I mean, heck, I can't go back to my nest because I'm so damn short."
He decidedly looks up at you. Short? Is that really what you want to talk about right now?
He smiles and shakes his head. "Nah, I want to talk about how the hell we're getting out of here." As he says that, he kind of looks around to see if any of the guards are eavesdropping.
Roll perception for me.
Okay.
Bear in mind, you can also have these conversations with a stealth. The guards don't look like they're looking. They're looking at you just sort of every once in a while, but they're also just sort of keeping an eye on the general area. You don't see anything that really stands out to you.
Deimos is gonna slap, kind of give Kledash a light slap. Hey, shut up! Not out loud.
And Halen says now in Dwarven, I told you that no one gets out, right?
Well, has anyone tried? Replying in Dwarven.
Yes, replying in Dwarven.
I do know Dwarven. Yeah, Dwarvish. Yes.
Sorry.
Responding, of course, in Dwarvish.
Okay. No one gets out because the minute they try, they lose their nerve. I've seen it. I've never seen something like it before. Folks have gotten all the way out, and they just turn around and walk back in.
Here. Obviously, some sort of magic.
Clearly.
So I guess that means the easy part's getting out, hard part's staying out.
That's what
I know a couple of magic guys who can work on that. Maybe.
You sound awfully confident. What did you have in mind? And at this point, you do notice that he's speaking. He's speaking Dwarven in a hushed tone, and he also turns to who else is here? It's Tarin that's here, I think, or is it Kledash? Sorry, it's Kledash.
Kledash.
It's Kledash, the bard.
He now turns to Kledash and says in common, what would he say? He'd say, I saw you try to get into the refinement area earlier. May I advise against it?
Is he saying that to... Who is he saying that to?
He's saying that in common, but he is looking at Kledash.
Okay, sure. Or... Yeah, okay.
Kledash just nods. Then he leans in, sort of through gritted teeth, looking at the two others at the table. I'll try to make a stealth check to try to make sure that he's inconspicuous about it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll stealth.
Oh.
You gotta put a question mark in front.
Yeah, forgot. 22.
22, nice. Very nice.
Okay. As you lean in, one of the guards takes a step forward, but they don't move any closer. They just take a step forward. They're not in particular earshot. Probably more nervous that you're gonna hit him or something. And then he relaxes once he sees that you're not making a move to strike.
Yeah.
Halen.
Through gritted teeth, Kledash just whispers, I would appreciate it if I knew what you guys were talking about. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't speak Dwarven.
And Halen sort of turns his body to face away from all the guards. There's a space in one corner where there isn't a guard really, but he turns to face that direction. Well, the thing is, none of these guards know Dwarven. And since I don't see our wonderful jailer out, It's the only language we can speak in and not to be overheard.
Well, they'll definitely hear us. They won't understand what the hell we're saying.
My distinct
Good.
apologies.
Kledash just slumps back in his seat, crosses his arms, and says in Draconic, I guess I'll just talk to my damn self.
And as you do that, you start speaking in a rough guttural language, and Halen looks at I believe it's Deimos. Halen looks over at Deimos and shrugs.
I want to attempt to make an insight to trying to get the general gist of Kledash's sort of emotional state, or not emotional state. This is just to understand his frustration.
Well,
Or
I
is
would
that kind of
say unless he's trying to hide it, you wouldn't necessarily need to do an insight check.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. Okay.
He sounds
Are you trying
frustrated,
to hide it?
but
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no reason to hide it.
Deimos is gonna like kind of wave his hand at Kledash. I'll give you Cliff. No, Cliff Notes don't exist in this universe.
Cliff spells.
No.
I'll give you the Cliff. I'll give you the Cliff spells later. We'll talk about it later.
What is this cliff? And what are the spells?
Who is this?
All right. Sort of cutting off on this conversation. Is there anything anyone else would like to be doing at this time?
I will be right back. I dropped my D20 under my couch.
Well, that seems like a
Good job.
mistake. Is there anything anyone else would like to be doing at this time? I believe at this point we've gone over most of everyone except Calder. Would Calder like to be doing anything in particular at this time?
Yeah. I'd like to do what I was trying to do before the recreation period, which was to explore this place and try and get a lay for it.
Okay.
Figure out
Yeah.
the weaknesses and stuff like that.
If you
Somehow I managed to get lost on one floor for 4 hours.
you start making your way around. The areas that have been unrestricted for everybody else are now also unrestricted for you. You see each of the 4 prisoner dormitory floors. You see the hallway. You go down to one end. There's just a empty hallway at each end. The locked door here, the open door that goes out into the recreation area, and you are allowed to walk around the recreation area. You can look out the portcullis without being disturbed as long as you don't really approach it very closely, and you can look into the other portcullis where you can see the blacksmith and forge, both of which are currently inactive.
Okay.
Is there anything else in particular that you would like to look at?
I mean, I was looking for obvious places where I could possibly escape. So, like, weaknesses in the wall, or changes
Okay.
in the guard, or where the portcullis mechanisms
roll-
were.
Let's see, you've got about 2 hours. Roll 2 consecutive investigation checks. Actually, no, roll an investigation check and a stealth check for me.
Okay, so investigation first. What skill is investigation? That is intelligence. So +0. So I rolled an 11 for that.
Okay.
And stealth, which I rolled a stealth. Modified 20.
Okay, so you, excuse me. So it wasn't noticed that you were looking around. You did sort of make your way around. Let's see, with an 11, you do notice there are some scuff marks on the floor of the hallway. Let me see, where's my pen? You do notice some scuff marks on the floor of the hallway here. You don't manage to see what could have caused that. And as you make your way around the courtyard, you see a similar set of scuff marks next to one of the portcullises. The one towards the front. Unfortunately, you're not really able to determine what they are, but you do notice that they are similar.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to figure out what the tracking skill would be, because those technically would come under tracks.
It'd be a survival check, but they're not tracks. I'll tell you that. Now, like animal tracks, that'd be a survival skill, but
yeah, but it's the same kind of skill you were looking at, like what kind of weight, size, and shape creature would be doing that. Not all creatures have footprints.
Yeah, depending on what you're looking at, I would say this particular type of thing, you would recognize as not being made by a living thing.
Yeah, I figured that out for myself.
Is there? I would say you'd probably take the better part of an hour and a half to do that. Is there anything else that you would like to do in this time?
Keep an eye on the guards. Like, what guards, what equipment they have, how many, where they're positioned.
Okay.
Usual stuff.
Currently, at this time of night, there's one guard at each of the prisoner floors, just at the head of the stairs. None of them attempt to stop you as you go by. Excuse me. There's one guard at either portcullis, and 2 guards flanking the dormitory doors in the labor yard. There are no guards that you can see in the hallway. You do notice that there is a light coming from underneath this door, the door that you were looking at before.
Okay.
But otherwise, it would appear that there are about 8 guards active right now.
Right. Like, what kind of equipment do they have? Does it look like they know how to use it?
So they've the same as they've had. All the guards have a short club. Some of them have it hanging off a loop at their waist. Some of them are holding them.
So there's no different types of guards? Like,
Correct.
no one's, like, a squad leader or something like that? Everyone here is just...
Besides Athe and Kron, you haven't noticed any difference in the equipment that the guards have been holding. Athe, you saw, was had a longsword strapped to her side, and you did see Kron had a short sword.
And what about armor?
Athe everyone's wearing what appears to be simple leather armor. There's no real. There's the a small insignia impressed into each of the shoulders. I don't really have a good picture of it, but I can pull it up on my phone. And the Athe was wearing full plate, and Kron was wearing chainmail.
Okay.
But all the other guards are wearing leather armor. Some of them have a cap, like a leather cap on. Some of them don't. It doesn't seem to be any particular pattern to which ones are wearing what.
So no bows, crossbows, slings, guns. I don't know if you have guns in this world. You probably don't.
Greyhawk does not have firearms, but no, none that you've seen.
Okay. Does it look like any? Just trying to think if there's anything else I can think of right now. Don't think it really is. Everyone else has been doing all the talking.
Okay. Let me see. Do I have it here?
I mean, I could say I butt into the conversation that you were having an hour and a half ago.
Which conversation?
Well, that would just mean that's me being sarcastic. The conversation happened an hour and a half ago, and I would have been doing other things. Besides, I don't think I even speak Dwarven.
Right. So I'm just like these things are happening concurrently. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone else would like to do before going to sleep?
No, I'm mostly just trying to talk to people, get something.
Okay. At this time of night, only Halen is out. Everybody else is either somewhere you don't know, or they're in their dormitory.
Yeah, and I've been talking to the. Let me pull up his name again because I keep forgetting it. I need to go back to the chat with the name. I've been talking to Iacus.
Yes, you were speaking to Iacus when he was in his dormitory.
Yep. Yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. So I'm guessing at this point, since you're asking again, it is getting. Like, how long do we have until we have to get till curfew is enforced?
At this point, not a lot of time. You only got about maybe half an hour at the absolute most.
Alright. Well, I start to wrap up the conversation with Iacus. It's been nice talking to you again.
That's all he gives you, just
so-
a grunt of acknowledgement.
Hope to talk again. Have a nice night. And I
Aye.
get up and walk off.
Okay. Do you return back to your dorm?
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to assume, unless anyone says otherwise, that you're all going to return back to your dorm and turn in for the night.
Yeah,
Sure.
that makes
Cool
sense.
beans. Silence is tacit approval. So each of you goes to bed. You do manage to get a full night's rest in. Not that I don't think any of you cast any spells or took any damage, so that doesn't really matter for you guys. But you wake up in the morning. You are woken by one of the guards hitting his club along the bars of your cell. Oi! Time to get up! Everybody up! And he hits the cells, and one by one,
All
there's
right.
a second guard with him going one by one and unlocking each of the cells and opening the doors.
So my character would get up, do like a small sort of stretch, and then walk out of his little dorm.
Okay. Yeah, as you walk out, you follow the other prisoners down and out. They line up again, similar to the previous evening. Kron is already standing there. Athe is not, but Kron is standing there, just expectantly. And you each line up into the spaces you had before. Kron looks at everybody. Right. Newbies. With me. Everybody else, you know where to go. So he, that's not the right voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll fix that in a bit. So he motions for the four of you to come over, and everybody else returns to essentially where they were before. Iacus, who was working with the stone, returns to the sorting table. And as each of you approach him, right. Well, we need to get you jobs. While you're here, we want to make sure that you're busy. Does anyone have any special, particular affinity for crafting, or are you strong, or is there anything that you would love? And he looks over at Deimos, and he nods to one of the guards nearby.
What?
You'll be on the rocks. He sort of motions with his head behind you, and two of the guards come in from either side and stand very close to you and start to sort of guide you over to where one of the rocks is that had been getting chipped at before.
Really? I don't have a say in this?
No, you don't. I do, and that's all that matters. One
Dick
of the
face.
guards,
I will go along with the guards, but I will call back Dick Face to what was his name again?
Kron.
Kron. I will call out Dick Face as I am guided away.
Let's see. You have a what, +3 to dexterity right now? The guard one of the guards sitting next to you reaches back with his club and goes to hit you in the stomach, but you actually manage to step out of the way. And the guard glares at you and grabs you by the arm and pushes you over to the rocks that are being worked on.
I will giggle to myself as this happens.
The other guard hands you a small chisel, about 4 inches long, and a hammer would be generous. It's essentially just a weight on the end of a stick. And he points at the rocks. Let's see. Kron. Kron looks to, I believe it was Tarin that came up to him last night?
Yep. Yeah, that was me, Tom.
You told me last night you could fix things.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He looks over at 2 of the other guards. One of the guards has returned, the one that took a swing at Deimos, and another guard walks from the side, and they both come to your side and start guiding you actually out into the door over here, where there's a third guard standing. And that guard steps aside. The 2 guards open the door. It does not appear to be locked. They open the door and they guide you in to another hallway. You can see it sort of wraps around this way, and there's a set of stairs just inside that go up. They bring you upstairs, at which point you actually see now you're on a second level. There's a balcony that goes around the entire courtyard. You can see down into the balcony. And as you go up, at the top of the stairs, sort of off to one side, is a pile of leathers and some tools and things like that that have been damaged or broken over time.
By damaged or broken, do you mean like small holes, or do you mean like chipped at?
The leathers they're just old. There might be a tear here and there. The tools that have been there's like a pickaxe there with a broken handle. There's a couple of other things there. You see a length of rope that has been almost frayed through in the center.
If I remember, that mending doesn't work. Was like mends small holes. I don't think it creates new handles.
Right. This repairs a single break or tear in an object you touch. Right. Bearing in mind, the man who sent you up here, you told him that you fix things. That's all he knows.
My character just sort of mumbles something.
And as you come up to this top level, you do see now there are, at least here and here, you see 2 guards patrolling. Each of them have heavy crossbows in their hands. And if you look across to the other side of the courtyard, you see 2 more with heavy crossbows again, patrolling and just looking down. One is looking out, and one is looking in.
Something should have been more specific.
One of the guards who came up with you stays with you, and the other goes back down. And now, Kron looks to Calder. What do you do? Calder?
Sorry, something happened. What were you doing?
So Kron turns to you and just says, "So what do you do?"
I'm a decent chef. I used to work in a tavern, you know.
You. We'll see about that. And he motions 2 guards over who take you through this set of doors again. The same set of doors that Tarin was brought out. And instead of going, you do see this set of stairs here. You go around the back, and you see a doorway here. They take you through, and there is a small kitchen, about 15 by 15 foot, and you do see this end of the hallway actually ends. A small kitchen, about 15 by 15 foot, pretty cramped space. There's a small cooking fire lit in a little hearth. There's 2 other individuals there, neither of whom appear to be prisoners. They're dressed in just servant's clothing, and they both look up at you as you enter and nervously look to each other, but don't say anything. One of them appears to be preparing meat. They're cutting meat into thin strips, and the other is dipping the strips into salt.
Does this look like the same quality of food that we had last night?
Currently, yes, it does.
Correct.
This one fancies as a chef. Do him the honors, would you? And one of them is a human female, the other's a human male. The woman stands up and gives a small curtsy. Of course, sir. And she motions you over to one of the counters where there's just a bunch of potatoes. And one of the guards remains in the kitchen, and she looks at the guard nods, and she hands you a small knife.
I get to peeling.
Okay. Now the only one remaining, I believe, is Kledash.
Yes.
So, Dragon, what do you do?
So Kledash looks up at Kron and
Yes,
with a smirk.
He'd be about a foot taller than you. Yeah.
Only a foot?
A foot and a half.
Okay. So Kledash just looks up at Kron and with a smirk just says, "I can spit acid."
He stops and considers. Does it damage metal?
Depends on the metal.
And I gotta flip to your page because I don't remember. Because I think it damages everything.
As far as I know, it damages everything too. He's just being snarky.
Oops, I'm on the Thursday group. Yeah. Oh yeah. It melts everything. He motions you over to the group of people who are chipping at rocks. Show me.
Okay. So Kledash walks up to the rocks and swills acid in his mouth and spits it on one of the piles.
Okay. Roll. Let's see. Roll 2d6 for me,
6.
just to see how much damage gets done.
6.
So 6. All right. So you swill and you spit a bit of acid out onto just sort of a waist-high pile of rocks. The acid sizzles down through the top, probably about 3 feet of rock, just melts it clear down. And all the people, the prisoners who had been working around that area, all sort of take a step away. And Kron, who's standing behind you. Well, let's see. You have a Kron, who's standing behind you. You can feel a crack on the back of your head as Kron hits you in the back of the head with the pommel of his sword. You take let's see, you take 3 points of bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
That's more valuable than your life, Dragon. Nice try. I'll find something. Sorry?
Through gritted teeth, he just sort of mumbles, it can melt bodies just as well. And he sticks his tongue out, and it makes that little serpentine hiss.
Hiss!
You be careful with that tongue, boy, or I'll rip it out of your head. And he motions two of the guards to come over, and the guards actually grab you by either arm, and they take you. Excuse me. He turns and he walks out, and the two guards follow with you in tow, and they take you into this door here, and you now see. How big? This is a big space. It's a lot bigger space than I thought I made. As you walk in, you see another room. It's sort of coming out in a diagonal sort of direction off from the doorway. There's a set of tables, 3 tables, a set of chairs. You see a rack of miscellaneous weapons. You see a couple of polearms, a couple of short swords, and a couple of crossbows in the corner here. And in this corner, there is a set of stairs going up. Without a word, Kron walks up the stairs, the 2 guards sort of carrying you along, bring you along with, and you go up to a second level. On this second level is a relatively large room, and sitting behind a somewhat obnoxiously large wooden desk, you see is Athe. Her armor on a stand. Her armor's on a stand. She's just in these plain dark green robes. Athe. Dragon here. He's being a wise ass. Burned probably 6 days worth of electrum. Athe, who's sort of writing something down in a small book, stops writing and looks up. She sees you. Is this true? You melted our work?
Kledash just shrugs and says, "He told me to do it."
She looks to Kron. He said he can spit acid. He did not tell me that the acid melts metal. Athe stands, walks up to Kron, and strikes him on the face. Just slaps him full force on the face. You do notice, Kron's not a small man. He's a pretty burly man, and you actually see him get lifted off his feet slightly, and he gets pushed down to the ground. Never believed them. You idiot! She turns to you. And you! I said that we would make your time here comfortable. We make your time here comfortable if you follow our rules. She takes a step closer to you.
Man,
Kron
I did
here.
follow rules. He told me to spit acid on the rock. I spit acid on the rock. Ain't my fault.
But you knew what it would do. Bring him back to his cell. See that he stays there for the remainder of the day. Provide him with the normal rations. You, my friend, have just lost your privileges to be outside. She motions the 2 guards towards the door, who then take you out. And as we leaving,
exit, as we exit the room, Kledash just looks at Kron and smirks and says, "Now that's what I call a bitch slap."
And as you, Krom is nursing a noticeably reddened cheek. Looks up at you and gives you a glare. And as you're leaving the room, one of the guards goes to close the door behind you. You start to hear Athe shouting at Krom. The door closes before you're able to hear much of the words, but you can hear the fact that she's shouting through the doorway. Okay. So the guards bring you back down through the office guard quarters areas. back out, and just down this hallway, back up to your cell. They throw you into the cell. They don't make any attempt to really get you onto the bed. They just kind of throw you from the door, close the door behind you, and lock it. One of the guards stays behind at the top of the stairs, and the other leaves out of sight. Okay. Let's see. Moving back to... I believe it was, Deimos. What I had you go to the rocks, correct? Deimos? You still there?
I am muted for some reason. Okay, no, I'm here. Yep.
Alright, so I had you go to the rocks, starting to chip out whatever ore it was you can find. Is that what I had you do?
I was not actually given instructions. I was told you're going to the rocks, and I was handed a chisel and a hammer that's not a hammer.
Okay. So as the guard hands those to you, he points at a silvery green vein of metal in the rock. This is what you're looking for. Do your best not to damage it. He steps away from the rock. Just for the sake of time, could I have you make a strength check for me?
Strength tech. Roger that. And then I'm adding my strength mod. Yes, that's how it works. Okay.
Yep, just a straight strength check.
Strength mod is 9.
You roll a 9. Okay. So it actually takes you the most of the day, all the way up until about midday. The time of day, the sun was just sort of cresting over the horizon as you guys walked out of the dormitory. It takes you until about midday for you to really make a dent in this rock. The guards are looking at each other and whispering to each other, perhaps reconsidering their decision to put you in this position. While that is happening, let's see. Tarin, you were brought up to fix things because you told Kron that you could fix things. What have you been doing in the meantime? I think, right? Yeah. Tarin?
Sorry, my mic messed up. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I've just been mending the leathers.
Okay, you're just casting mending over and over and over and over. Okay.
Yeah, repeatedly using mending.
Yeah. So as you touch the metal, you trace a small hole with your thumb, and you cast mending. Let's see. The material spell. So the material component is 2 lodestones. As you're casting this spell, the guards actually have a pile of small stones that they are handing you for use in the spell because it is a required spell component. You get through two full sets of leather armor before they are just completely out of these components. And you look at them expectantly, and they kind of look at you with a shrug.
I apologize, but you'll have to explain this to the higher-ups, as I don't exactly have any of those on me.
One of the guards turns and whispers to the other, and who then sort of runs off down the stairs.
Now my character just looks through to check how many of these things are things that are like broken handles and such that I won't be able to fix.
I would say the majority of it. It's really just the armor that you'd be able to fix. There's maybe the coil of rope with a fray in the middle, but for the most part, this is outside the range of the magical mending abilities. They just don't really. encounter this type of individual often as you, so
I'm certainly gonna have to be more specific next time.
so the other guard comes back, holding a what looks to be a toolkit, and hands the toolkit to you.
What are the contents of this kit?
So as you take the toolkit, you open it up, you see there is one set of shears, like leatherworking shears, an awl, which it's a something for punching holes in leather.
Yep.
There is a pouch with about 150 feet of like thin leather strapping. 150 feet. That's a little bit over 2 handfuls size. That's about how much would be in that coil. You also find a small drill is not the right word, but it is a small curled piece of metal that is generally used
I think that'll be like a no Dremel's something else.
Nope. Dremel is a Dremel is a mechanical, is a decidedly electromechanical device. It's more for
Yeah.
carving fine details out of a piece of wood, almost like a whittler's knife, but it has a very particular shape to it.
All right.
And there's also several small strips of cloth and a one long thin piece of leather about 3 feet long.
All right. So what skill would this need me to roll for?
That would be a good question. Oh, given the fact that this is something that you're not proficient with, this would be more or less an intelligence check, just a straight intelligence check.
All right, pure intelligence. Come on, intelligence, give me something good. I get a 16.
16. Okay. Using the materials that you're given, you're able to more or less cobble together one serviceable set of our leather armor. The materials that you were given are just not adequate for the job that you were asked to do. So, unfortunately, you're not able to do much more than that. Given the fact that you are no longer performing magic, however, this does take you the better part of the afternoon. Probably until just before midday, or so.
All right.
And as you reach the end of these materials, the two guards. So it's one guard from down below and one guard that's holding a crossbow that had been already up here. Just sort of shrug at you, and they are clearly ill-equipped to handle this kind of request. So shifting over to Calder. So Calder, you were brought into the kitchen area. As you're working, you're peeling potatoes. There's a guard at the door because you're a prisoner and they don't trust you yet. Each of the excuse me. Ow. I gotta stand. And my foot did not like that one bit. As you're working, the two others are speaking to each other in common. They're just talking about various miscellaneous things, like what they're going to be doing later that afternoon and so on. Once you finish up with the potatoes, they move on. Now the woman is cutting out much larger pieces of meat, and the man is seasoning them and putting them over a fire to be cooked. The woman turns to you and hands sort of a bowl full of mixed vegetables and says, "You should chop these if you can, please."
Okay.
So you take those, you chop them up, and they start cooking what appears to be some kind of a stew out of this meat and the vegetables. And just the volume of work that you're given, it does take you quite a few hours to get through all of this. And as we reach midday, Kledash has been in his cell. What has Kledash been doing in his cell?
Kledash has... It's mostly been basically learning the cell really well, sort of testing it out, trying to see if there's any way out.
Okay, roll investigation for me.
Let's see. 9.
9. Okay. Well, it takes you most of the day. You got a bed, you got a bucket, which may or may not be occupied depending on how well you wanted to sell on how well you've needed to use it. Stump, you start to examine the door. The guard is sort of dozing. He's not really paying attention to what you're doing. You start to examine the lock on the door. It's nothing special. You would need some sort of tool to get it open, but it's nothing. You get the feeling that people don't often try, so there's been no need for any sort of complexity in the lock. Otherwise, it's not much to see in your cell, unfortunately. You're there for a reason, and the reason is not for comfort. So we get through the afternoon. We get up to noon, and for Kledash, there is a small bowl or a plate, basically, that's shoved into your cell by one of the guards, containing a singular strip of meat. And that's all you're given that afternoon. Everybody else at their various workstations is handed slightly more. You're given, as the previous night, essentially 3/4 of a ration. You're given water. Calder, you do notice that the prisoners do not receive any of the stew that you made. They do not receive any of the cooked meat. They only receive the jerkied and salted meat. The stew is brought in. You get to follow up to this door, and then you're stopped, and the two bring the stew into this room here, and return without the pot. And then you return to the kitchen, and each of you has that 3/4 rations. The two servants that are clearly not prisoners are also allowed to. You can see that they're allowed to eat fruits. They are given, whatever fruits they want to eat, as long as it's not in excess. The woman does turn to offer you one, but the guard steps in and does not allow her to. So that's the first day, more or less. In the afternoon, it's very much the same. Could I have Deimos make another strength check, please? If he's still there.
Maybe he got accidentally muted again. I don't. It doesn't seem he did. I don't know what's going on with his mic.
I don't have the call up, so I can't see if. Let's see.
He might have one of those mics that mutes on
Anyway,
his
so
end.
I'll come back to you. Just Deimos, I'll want a strength check out of you. Moving on. Kledash, could I have you make another investigation check?
All right.
Because now you have another 4 hours to do whatever you want with.
All
As
to
long
myself. 13.
13. Okay. So as you work your way around the cell, you do see that the bars of your cell particularly, the bars between your cell and the adjacent cell are of a newer metal than the bars that separate you from the hallway. You can't get an incredible gauge for the age, but you do get the feeling that these used to be just 2 cells that have now been expanded into 4 cells. Other than that, not a whole lot to see, unfortunately. Let's see.
Just my luck.
Calder, afternoon is very much the same as the morning. Nothing special really happens. Is there anything you'd like to do in particular during this time?
I'd like to try and have a conversation with these people, the people I'm working with.
Okay.
So what's so what's the town like around these parts? I'm not from around here.
Clearly, the woman says. Well, not many people live in these areas. We just have a small village. And she glances to the other servant, who gives her a slight shake of the head. We live nearby. We don't live in the prison, and Athe sees that we're provided for. It's not easy, but she looks you up and down. It's easier than what you've got, friend.
This be true.
I'm Eudora, by the way. And this is I'm Eudora, and this is my brother Aitor. And I'll put
Pleasure to meet the two of you.
Once
I'm Calder.
Eudora, Aitor, Calder. It is a pleasure to meet you, Calder. You seem to be quite handy.
How long you been working here?
Well, we have been working for the Hestmark family for... excuse me, Hestmark family. I'm getting my noble names confused. We've been working for the Tarmiran family for most of our lives. It's not often that we leave our home and when she starts saying that, the Aitor actually reaches out and touches her arm, and she stops speaking for a moment. It's not often that we leave our home, but well, we go where we're needed, and we're needed here. What is it you did before you came here?
I don't know.
You don't know? How don't you
Yeah.
know?
I came home one day from a particularly successful hunting trip, and then I found guards waiting at my door. Next thing I know, I was
You were-
arrested.
So you were a hunter?
No, I just spent my times in the woods. I'm a tavern chef.
I see. Well, perhaps we can convince... I keep blanking on her name even though I keep telling you. Athe. Perhaps we can convince Athe to expand our rations. Well, not yours. Your prisoners don't get the same treatment, but at least it could give you something to do, right? Instead of the same thing every day.
Ha! I used to be quite the decent chef. Cooking many different meals for many different folk. But, I guess those days are behind me now.
And Eudora looks over to her brother. They may not be behind you forever. Let me talk to Athe. I'll see what I can do. We can perhaps liven up the atmosphere. And at this point, Aitor, who has not yet said anything to you. Yeah, well, this far out, we just kind of gotta make what we're given. We don't really have much of a choice, but Eudora's always been the optimist between us, so we do what we can, and hopefully that he looks over to the guard. Hopefully they don't decide to send us here either.
I hope you never see the other side of these bars. Still, Let's see if we can make this meal a little bit more interesting with what we have right now, hey?
Sounds like a
I
plan,
will-
friend.
I have a look around the kitchen and tried my best to make this more interesting than whatever the hell it is they were making, which is stew with meat, salted meat, and some vegetables.
So the afternoon meal was actually going to be essentially a salad almost.
Ah,
You know,
salad.
chopped leaves and chopped vegetables are in the salad as well. There's specifically no meat in this meal, but it's nothing fancy, but it's better than what the prisoners are getting. You do see, however, in the corner there are 3 small barrels, one of which has a tap in the side.
I investigate the barrel. What's this then?
Also, the Ator walks over to the barrel and taps it, sort of, pats it with his hand. This is our yearly supply of mead. You don't get to have any. And Eudora shoots him a look. I'm trying.
That's fine. I understand.
The guard at the door chuckles. So as you return to preparing the meal in the afternoon, in addition to making the guards' meals, you also help Eudora cut and salt some of the meat in preparation for not tonight's meal for the prisoners, because it still has to dry and become preserved, but for perhaps a later meal. Let's see. Who did I forget? Did I forget anyone? I feel like I did.
You kind of skipped over me, but I don't know. I mean, there's also Deimos still hasn't done his role because he doesn't seem to be
Yes.
alive.
I haven't heard from Deimos yet. I can roll for him, but I'll do that once I finish with you, Tarin. So as you finish up with the materials, the regular guard wielding a club, the one who is not at the top, brings you down to the lower levels, brings you back down just into the labor yard, and brings you over to the sorting table. He says, look, I'll talk to Athe, see if we can get some more materials. I don't think she realizes how much shit we're in right now, so just do this. Don't make a fuss. Make my life easy. Make your life easy, yeah?
Got that.
Okay. So
I am back.
You're back. Okay.
He returns.
Tarin, you sit down and you start sorting rock and metal again with not again, but you start sorting rock and metal with Halen and I forget who else was there. Was it Erebos? Erebos, that's the name. I have too many names on this paper. So Deimos, could I have you roll a strength check, please, just for the afternoon's work?
Can I intentionally fail?
Make a
It's
sleight
always
of
an option.
hand check to fail with style and not look like you're deliberately sabotaging. Because yes, absolutely,
23.
deliberately failing. 23. Okay, well, so you
Ooh,
work through
that
the
is
afternoon,
rough.
and you're making motions like your muscles are really sore, and the amount of labor that you actually do is negligible. You have barely chipped into the surface of this rock at all by the time the sun is starting to come down, and the guards are again, they're looking at you and chuckling and saying that one of the guards says, that is the biggest weak man I have ever seen.
Do I hear this?
They're not making any attempt to hide it.
I'm just gonna silently mutter, "So yeah, real weak when I sink this damn thing in your skull."
Are you saying it quietly so they can't hear you? Or do you want them to
Yes.
hear you? Okay, so at this
No,
point,
I don't.
they wouldn't.
Just muttering to myself.
Right, they're talking amongst each other, not really paying attention to you so much, so that's not something they would hear anyway. Okay, so after afternoon rolls around into evening, not a particularly eventful day. Um, Deimos, towards the end of the day, would you? Let's see. Let's go down the list here. Could you make a dexterity save for me, please?
9. Right, no. Plus, do I get proficiency on top of that, or just my dex mod?
Are you proficient in dexterity?
Actually, no, I'm not.
Then no.
Yeah, no. 12.
12. Okay. So you hear from the rock itself is about probably 7 feet tall. You hear from the top of it a crack as the top of the rock slides down towards you. You manage to get most of the way out, but the rock, it's a sizable chunk. It's probably about 30 pounds, 30, 40 pounds, comes down on your leg. And you take you take 9 points of bludgeoning damage on your leg.
Jesus, okay.
And as this happens, both of the guards that are standing over you turn towards you, and they see this happen. One of them, "Get Athe!" And the other one rushes off. Everyone who's working around you has stopped working, just to sort of look at what's going on. The person that caused this to happen is a human male who's been working. He was one of the ones in the group that was identified. They didn't point out which particular names. They just kind of named 4 names. At the top, he has a small pick in his hand, and is up on the top of the rock and sort of standing there horrified. A moment passes, and Athe runs down in her. You do notice, this isn't something you would have seen before. You do notice Athe's not wearing her armor. She does have a set of green robes that she has. That she's wearing, and she rushes over to you.
Since my character isn't on like the sorting table, would he have notices like the crack from the rock?
Yes, this is loud enough that everyone in the recreation area has noticed.
All right. Well, I quickly turn around to see what that is.
Okay. So you see the rock, the top of the rock, break off and fall onto Deimos and harm Deimos. Let's see. Okay. So as you, all the work around the labor yard has ceased. Everyone's just turning to stare at this, happenstance. And as Athe rushes towards you, she directs both of the guards. She just barks at both of the guards to hold you down. And they push you down flat onto the ground on your back. Do you resist?
Not physically. I'm gonna be shouting, "Why are you trying to hold me down?" I just go ahead. Sorry. No, correct voice. I need to correct my voice. Why the hell are you trying to hold me down? I just had a fucking rock land on me.
And as she gets up to you, she places a hand over your mouth. Shh. And she takes a moment, and you can see her clutch a pendant that you don't really recognize. She clutches a pendant, and she puts both of her hands down on your leg, and as she runs one of her hand down from the center and one of her hand up along your leg, the injury, you can feel the skin mending together, and the bruise to the bone that had happened because of the rock, you can feel it knit together, and she heals you for would be 20 points of damage, so heals you completely.
Back to full. Okay.
Could I try seeing if I understand what this pendant is?
I would say from the distance you wouldn't be able to see. You can make a religion check if you would like to see if you can identify what happened, but the pendant is a bit too far away for you to see.
Alright, I'll make their religion. Alright, that's my, religion mod. Alright, that's good. And then I get a... Alright, 18.
18? Okay. Let's see, an 18. You recognize this as a paladin's lay on hands.
Alright.
So the particular spell structure that you have seen is not familiar to you as a cleric. Perhaps healing word or cure wounds. You do recognize this. The motions that she went through is very specifically a lay on hands type of healing.
Yeah.
And as she finishes this ritual, she looks up at the rest of the prisoners. Get back to work. And she looks down to Deimos. And that means you too. And she stands up, nods to both of the guards, and makes her way back into the door over here. So as this is towards the end of the day, so as the day is coming to a close, the prisoners that you're working with, Deimos, each give you a look. They're curious as to what happened, but they're not... This has clearly happened before, so it's not incredibly uncommon to witness. The day comes to a close. The Athe comes out once more in her armor, and she calls the prisoners to assemble. You do note that Kledash is noticeably absent from the assembly. Kledash, at this point, you do receive another single strip of jerkied meat. And as you're eating it, the guards bring the meals to the other cells, which is the 3/4 day ration. And all the other prisoners return to their cells to eat. And you have about 2 hours of recreation time before curfew. Is there anything you guys would like to do?
I'm wondering where Kledash went.
So you see, as you come up to the cells, you see Kledash is in the cell, and he's the only one with the door closed and locked.
What happened with you?
Got in trouble. He says, sort of sadly, while gnawing on his jerky.
Well, shit, there ain't no way to eat. And Deimos is going to share a portion of his meal with Kledash.
Okay. The guard makes no attempt to stop this.
What happened?
I mean, you know I spit acid, right? Well, they wanted to see if it could melt some of them rocks. Turns out it melted the rocks and the metal, so, they weren't happy about that.
They tell you to do that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they told me to do it.
And this is something that Deimos would have seen happen because it happened right next to him.
I got led away first.
Oh, you did? My bad.
Yeah, I was the first one fucking out of there. I didn't get to see shit.
No, you saw it because it was the rocks that you were working on that he brought.
Yeah, you were
Kledash
dragged over to the rock.
Yeah.
You were dragged over to the rocks
He
first,
said,
and then
he said you're strong, and then brought you to the rocks.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Sure. That's fracking stupid.
He just shrugs. What can you do? Just hope they let me out of this damn joint tomorrow.
Considering what they put me in for, not gonna happen.
Man, they're not gonna have me smashing any more rocks. Probably gonna go back to sorting.
Well, I got access to... If they let me keep doing what I'm doing, I've got access to weapons. Crude as they are.
Gonna pick someone's brain?
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna answer... Or actually, no. Not gonna answer that one. Not gonna answer that.
And as you're having this conversation, the guard who is standing at the top of the stairs doesn't say anything, but he does definitely, he takes 2 steps in to stand between the first 2 cells and just to make his presence known. So as before with yesterday, there's a guard at the top of the stairs as you eat.
Yeah. Sure. And anyways, what was I going on about? Oh yeah. So but yeah, that's real shitty. Bunch of corrupt assholes these guys are.
The guard raises an eyebrow.
I imagine I'm facing away from him, so I don't actually see that.
Well, let me take a look. Which cell are you in? You
Well, I'm
would
kind of just sitting outside of Kledash's. I'm not sitting in my cell. I'm just sitting outside Kledash's, talking with him.
The direction.
So I'm
that
like,
you're
I'm not.
So the direction that you're facing, based on where the guard would be, it would be out of the corner of your eye if you cared to look, but if you didn't, then you wouldn't notice.
No.
Kledash would definitely notice this because he's facing outward.
Kledash makes sort of a cutthroat emotion that let's see. Well, how about I roll for?
What is it you're trying to do?
I'm trying to sort of tell him to shut up, but be a little bit discreet about it.
Well,
Okay.
I've stopped talking about that.
Okay.
I've already
Yeah,
stopped talking about it.
For the majority of stuff, just, like, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you if you need to roll for it, and if so, what the roll is.
Okay.
Had you continued and he wanted to shush you, that would have been a sleight of hand, but he stopped, so it doesn't matter.
But yeah, no, these corrupt assholes, they're not gonna let us out. Especially since they've got some magic voodoo shit keeping the prisoners in, and anyone tries to escape. You know that mental shit that happened back on the ship? I think they've got something like that wired around this place. Anyone tries to leave, they just get compelled to walk back in.
Since I'm in my cell, I'm assuming, since I was
Yep.
let back, would I have overheard this?
I am speaking
Well,
quite loudly, so
unless you
I'm
decided to leave, then yeah, you would have heard this conversation.
No, my character didn't decide to leave. He was just sort of.
yeah, you
one
would have definitely heard this.
second.
I'm not making any attempts
Yeah,
to
they're-
make myself heard.
Yeah, there's nothing that would have stopped you from hearing it.
All right. Well, I chime in. They also have some sort of alarm spells.
Well, I mean that much is obvious.
Certainly,
what
but
kind of prison would this be if they didn't have some sort of alarm system? Physical or arcane doesn't really matter what the method is.
fair.
I'm more interested.
To be honest, I am also more interested in what that seems to be.
What was that? Was that Deimos that was just speaking? I think.
Yes.
Could I have you roll just a straight intelligence check for me, please?
Trade intelligence.
And
Odds.
and remind me what your background is, please.
I am a soldier. Or yeah, I'm a soldier.
Okay.
Let's see. 15.
15. Okay, yeah. I just checking to make sure that you'd know how a prison would work, because not everybody thinks about it or knows about it. But yeah, given your background and the role, you would know that.
Where was I? Yeah, but they ain't no way these assholes are gonna let us out. Considering that they put me in here.
Most certainly. What were you put away for anyway?
Well, that one's a bit complicated. And hey, and I turn over to the guard. Hey, you want to listen on to this? You want to hear my story?
The guard grunts and actually turns to face away from you.
Prick. Fine. Anyways, disregarding fuckface over there, I killed a man. However, and he holds up his hand with his finger out to kind of shush any sort of response. This son of a bitch was
And as you're in the middle of this sentence, you feel a whack across the back of your head as the guard hits you with his club, and you take 6 points of bludgeoning damage. And you are knocked from in. And were you standing or were you sitting on your little seat? What was your positioning?
I was sitting cross-legged on the floor.
Cross-legged on the floor. You are knocked to the side. You are knocked prone. And the guard stands over you and pushes his club up under your chin. You will respect our position, or we'll see to it that Kron hears about this. Got it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
He steps away.
As he steps away, just gonna whisper himself, fuckface.
Okay.
Deimos isn't gonna get up. He's just gonna assume a lying position on the floor, roll over onto his back, and just continue talking. The man I killed.
Okay. Bit
Yeah, just
dirty,
on the
but
floor.
okay. Just checking.
Deimos don't give a shit. Deimos will continue. Yeah, but this man I killed, he was an actual traitor to, he was going to defect to, what was the other nation that this country was at war with?
Alyssa?
Alyssa?
Yeah, Alyssa. They're not quite at war, but it's a very tenuous relationship right now. It's
Yeah, he was shuffling some information to the Elysians.
Who are you?
And
who are you pointing at? Or you referring to the person? Sorry, I just didn't catch that context in the conversation. I thought you were talking about another member of the party.
No. I'm telling my background here. He was feeding some information to the Elysians, and well, that, as you might imagine, ain't cool. So I killed him. However,
for future reference, people who live in Alyssa are called Alyssans. But go on.
I said, sure.
You said
however,
Elysian a couple times. It doesn't matter. Anyway, go on.
Alyssans. Okay, sure. However, my superiors didn't really like my style of operation, we'll say. And they saw that as a perfect opportunity to throw me into Slammer, even though I did them a solid. So you know what? Fuck them.
So I see. Interesting.
Now, is there?
Would my character know of the current state between Alyssa and where we are currently?
Sorry, remind me of your background.
Urchin.
Urchin, right? This is another one of those. You'd vaguely be aware of another kingdom called Alyssa. You may have heard vaguely about the fact that it's hard to get from one place to another, but you wouldn't really know. You in particular wouldn't really have a reason to know anything outside your own city. While you were living on the streets, you have more important things to worry about than, national politics. So
yeah, like food.
Yeah, you were a little busy getting food, to really pay attention to the potential outbreak of violence between the kingdoms that you don't really care about.
Yeah. So nice.
So now you know a little bit more
Definitely
about that.
Yeah. Certainly a bit more complex than the reason I was put in here.
Well, if those corrupt assholes sitting on those pretty little thrones of theirs could toss me in like that for doing them a solid, they ain't no chance in hell they're letting you guys out.
Certainly.
So this has been
Would my character like? Oh, what was that?
so sorry, just Deimos and Tarin have been chatting. Has Calder been doing anything during this?
Well, I've been mostly chatting with Kledash is there too. But yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's anything in particular that he wanted to do while before curfew, because we are running up against the end of our time. So I just want to finish up, and then we'll see where we go from there.
I thought we finished at 1:30. It's like 2:15.
It's 6 to 9, and it is currently 9.
Well, it's 2 a.m. for
9:12.
me.
Right. Well, in the time zone where it matters, it's 9:12.
Yeah, thanks. This is the time zone where it matters.
But
Thank you
That's
very
a
much.
big move.
But legitimately, is there anything that you wanted to be doing during this time, or did you want to participate in this conversation?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything I really can do. So, yeah, that's that.
Okay. So sorry, Deimos, you were about to ask me something?
Oh no.
Oh, that was me. I was wondering
sorry.
if I had like at any point like catched the Deimos's name.
I don't think I ever mentioned my name.
Thinking back, I don't think so. I don't think you really introduced
Alright.
each other.
No,
I know. You do know Calder's name because why am I blanking on her name? Athe did greet him by name
Yeah, Athe.
as he got off the boat because
Yep.
he said something to her, but otherwise I don't think so. No.
Just saying, I never caught your name. What would your name happen to be?
What is your general stature? Like your general physical stature? Are you skinny, tall, muscular?
I'm like an average height, skinny, human.
Name's Deimos, skinny boy.
I see. Well, I happen to be Tarin. Nice to meet you. And like my character isn't like saying too proper, but he is just trying to stay generally on people's decent side.
Let's see. Just gonna do some self-initiative here. Do I catch on to your sort of awkwardness? I do.
I was gonna say, is it really something that he's hiding?
I'm certainly not hiding out how overtly awkward my character is.
Quit your whining. I don't give a shit how you're talking. Don't feel too what's the word I'm looking for? Don't feel too pressured. Just relax a bit. I don't give a shit if you're talking like a shitter or not.
Alright. Anyways, yeah. Would I have happened to be able to, due to my background, catch any of, the guards' faces, maybe remember a few so that I can try and, know, what to do to sort of get by certain...
You mean watching the pattern of guard rotation, stuff like that?
Yeah, stuff like that, yeah. When I happen to know, okay, this is where each person is where.
Remind me what your wisdom score is.
My wisdom would be a 14.
Okay, yeah, I'd say you'd have a decent enough memory to recall generally and have the wherewithal to pay attention to this sort of thing. I wouldn't say you've had enough time out in the open yet, but you have noticed that generally speaking, the guards who is at each post tends to be the same guard between morning and evening.
All right.
Other than that, since you haven't been sort of telling me that you were specifically looking for stuff like that, it really just sort of is passively what you're observing, and you were a little bit more focused on your work than you were on that. So
Yeah, trying to keep from getting anything happening. That's not exactly what my character's here for. He wants to generally be able to get trust so he can try using that a little bit.
okay, yeah, if that's going to be your plan, but yeah, it's if you want to be looking out for something, just make sure you let me know, because I wouldn't have considered you to be looking out for stuff like that because you just didn't mention it. So, I mean, it's the same guard that's standing at the top of the stairs that was standing at the top of the stairs yesterday. You do recognize that?
Yeah. Has anyone, like, yesterday's in, like, when I got in midday and then evening?
Right, and then
Like,
into the
was he
evening.
there the entire time and then he's...
No, he came up at when the meals were put out, and then you were given the free recreation time after the meal. That's when the guards are standing at the top of on one on each floor.
Alright. So yeah, my character, like, makes a mental note of that to, like, check when he gets up to see if the guards
Okay.
are sort of around.
Okay.
Alright, so...
Since we are running up towards the end of our time, is there anything you guys would like to do before going to sleep for the night?
No.
Nope. I am good here.
No, my character is I am perfectly fine. I am perfectly fine. Yeah. I'm ready to just fucking...
Okay.
I'm perfectly ready for bed.
Alrighty. Because I didn't hear anything dissenting, then I will say each of you returns to your bed. The guard comes around and locks the doors in at night once curfew rolls around. And as the night progresses, you each drift off to sleep to have your second, somewhat uncomfortable evening at Hestmark Prison. And we're going to take that opportunity to end for the evening, because it's
Alright.
we're now over our time. We'll see where this goes. You've met a couple people that I wasn't sure you were going to meet, but I'm glad that you did. So, thank you everybody for watching. Let me take a peek and see if I got it. Wow, surprising number of people watching right now. Thank you for watching, and we'll be here on the 21st. We do every other week, so our Monday group is the next time. It's going to be on the 21st. If you'd like to watch our Thursday group, we are going to be running on the 17th. They're running a separate campaign, so I have another group running then. So, thank you everybody, and have a good night.